talkSPORT.
I'm Ben Fletcher. Good afternoon. 7 hours till kick-off, and Thomas Tuchel's told talkSPORT his relationship with Jude Bellingham is as close as ever. He's blamed Gabriel Clark for selectively feeding Bellingham criticism after the win over Norway, while leaving out the praise. But broadcasting royalty Jim Rosenthal has told talkSPORT the ITV presenter is the best in the business.
Straight after the interviews, I sent Gabriel a text, and I said, a masterclass in the art of post-match interviewing. And I'll stand by that now. Gabriel's not a sensationalist. He's not out for headlines. He will look you in the eye and ask a straight question.
Declan Rice and Reece James are ready to start tonight. Argentina's players are watching clips of Maradona to get themselves up for it, while the country's vice president has brought the Falklands up in a post on X in which she calls England usurping pirates. These fans in Atlanta are looking forward to reigniting the rivalry.
The Argentinians, they're so salty, and Maradona, they celebrated that as if it's the biggest game in the world because he cheated.
Forget about all the politics and all of that, because that's rubbish, isn't it? It's just all about getting one over on Argentina on the football field. We're better than them. Messi's an old man. It's past it. And it's our turn. 60 years we've waited for this.
A man who faced off against Argentina at France 98 says England need to keep calm and rise above the dark arts tonight.
I always think you've got to keep it below your ribcage. It's like nerves. If the nerves go above your ribcage, you're in trouble. And the same with tension when you're playing. And you saw France, Mbappe on the goalkeeper yesterday, right towards the end of the game, just lost his control. And, Argentina are very good at winding people up.
Graham Lasso there. England versus Argentina is live on talkSPORT tonight. The build-up gets underway at 6:30. Elsewhere this lunchtime, Haiti have parted company with their head coach, Sébastien Migné, and Sunderland have confirmed the arrival of Belgium right-back Thomas Meunier. The 34-year-old has signed a 2-year deal. Plenty more at talksport.com.
talkSPORT. News.
The Prime Minister says more must be done to defend our democracy following the murder of Anne Widdecombe, and critics slam plans for a social media curfew for teens. Sinead has more at 30:30.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Today it's raining tyres in our centres, including top-notch brands like Pirelli. Visit your local centre or quickfit.com and book today.
Low cloud along the eastern coast, fine and dry elsewhere with plenty of hot sunshine. The odd thundery shower in the southwest.
Hello, I'm Matt Forden from talkSPORT. This is how to win the World Cup.
This is the best squad I think England have ever had.
He used to love America, now he doesn't. It's very sad.
It was so important to succeed because of all the pressure we received.
Don't jump for this one, I'm going to knock his head off.
Warning, this podcast does not guarantee England will actually...
Good afternoon, everybody. You're listening to Jim White and Simon Jordan. We're live on talkSPORT. So Spain into the World Cup final after dumping out the favourites, France. Who'll join them? England or Argentina? Meanwhile, was it only a matter of time before football became NFL'd? Also today, will tonight reshape how the Southgate years are viewed? Remember, Spygate, is there more punishment to come for Southampton? Can AI change the transfer market? And should the Spurs ownership thank Romero on his way out? It's Jim White and Simon Jordan. We're live on talkSPORT. Well. Now, the last time I saw you, you were leaving the studio at 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon in the company of two of boxing's finest from the same family, Paul Smith and Callum Smith. What was all that about?
And one of the other brothers, Stephen, who also was a great fighter, they have a podcast, a show that they do called the Smith Brothers.
Right.
And they have done Stephen Gerrard and they've done Wayne Rooney on it. And Paul's been asking me to do it for some time. And so I said yes.
Right.
On a day where I'd done an hour and a half talk boxing in the morning, 3 hours with you, which is exhausting, and then 2 hours with them. So 6.5 hours of hearing my own voice. Even I'm fed up with my own voice.
You have thrown yourself right into the media, haven't you? You just love it.
It was a nice
can't
chat.
get enough of it.
It was a nice chat about my favourite subject, boxing, with two guys, and Liam came in because Liam was on Zoom from America. He was with Callis Allen, so I ditched that one as quickly as I possibly could. Because Liam's running around America watching all the football, cadging tickets to watch the football.
Okay, all right, good.
Lovely to talk to the boys. Very interesting guys.
Great guys.
Yeah,
Paul
absolutely.
Smith, I have a lot of time for him.
Yeah, me too. And Callum. Very much so. And Stephen. Very much so.
Good. I wonder if they like us as much. I'm not sure.
That's a debate, isn't it?
You nervous?
No, optimistic. The only thing I'm nervous about is having my entire theory debunked, because the whole crux of my argument rests on this outcome this evening. Everything I've ever said about the ideals behind Gareth Southgate's achievements and the necessity to get someone in with the winning capability that knows what winning looks like and make big decisions in big games is underpinned or undermined by this very game. This is a 50-50 game, which we have not won 50-50 games. We've not won games where the balance of probability is either equal or slightly in the favour of the opposition. We've not won any of those. That's been the whole crux of my argument since time immemorial. And so for me, all of the efficacy of my arguments will be either validated or entirely debunked. And I know that you and Luke, if we were to lose, would be very discreet about it, and you wouldn't make any noise about all the things I've said over the years.
We'll go into the library and see what we can get out. What makes you confident /
Why shouldn't I be
optimistic?
We're in a World Cup semi-final. We've got good players. We may not be a great team. We've got good players. They're not a great team. They've got good players. It's a 50-50 game. England are more than capable of winning it. It feels like it's written because I've got to go home to Spain, which means I'm going to be surrounded by Spaniards, obviously, because we're in Spain. There's a distinct possibility that might happen.
Yes.
And I'm going to be in Spain when England are playing in the World Cup.
Do you have to go to Spain?
I'm sick and tired of you. I want to get as far away from Luke as possible. As soon as the hammer comes down on our show at 4 o'clock, I'm running to the airport on Friday.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking, yes, if Argentina go through.
It's home for me.
So it's a Spain-Argentina final, and they're not going to come looking for you.
No.
Regardless of who wins it. Spain-England final, you're going to cop for it, aren't you?
Well, I'm just going to cop for the intensity of the Spaniards' feelings.
Yeah.
Not necessarily directed at me, but ultimately because they're not particularly magnanimous as a group. And I've been there in 2010 when I had to endure their celebrations, and even it's worse in that part of the world that I live in, which is Nueva Andalucía, where they've got so much free time on their hands because they never do any bleeding work down there. So I am not looking forward to it, but that is the sort of superstitious side of me that thinks that's why it's written.
Okay.
But as far as the game is concerned, I'm looking for. I mean, listen, watching the game on Saturday was a chore. Not a chore because I was nervous or anxious, but a chore because it was awful to watch. It was a crap game. And I'm hoping that we have a good game this evening, a game that puts people on the edge of their seats. I don't want it to go to penalties. I want a good game of football. And I think if we can have a good game of football and England can win, then even better.
I mean, you've been saying that for a while, though. I heard you say that after the Congo game. I heard you certainly said it after the Norway game.
But it was abject against Norway. It was, I mean, listen, the Mexican game had a whole series of backstories.
Ghana.
Well, it was poor. The Panamanian game, poor. A 10-minute spell when it was grabbed by Harry Kane and gotten hold of. A 20-minute spell against the Croatians, where the optimism for a new dawn came, pervading through all of our eyeballs. It didn't manifest itself. It's a hard England. However way we slice and dice it, England is a hard watch. Some people will say it's a hard watch because it puts them on the edge of their seat. I'll say it's a hard watch because it's boring. It's pedantic. It's passive, and I'm hoping that we can be.
But you'll take it.
I'll take the win.
I mean, you'll take it. If anybody, unkind person was to say, well, you bored your way to a World Cup.
I'd agree with them.
You don't care?
No, I would agree with them. But my main construct in all this is totally mercenary. I want my argument to be right.
Well, Spain are there. They got there courtesy of a win over France last night. Before we hear Emmanuel Petit, who was on breakfast this morning, how good were Spain, Simon, versus how bad were the French?
I think the Spanish just strangled the life out of the game by the sheer composure and quality of their retention of the ball. And the French had various moments. There was one particular chance in the first half when Mbappe went through, and you maybe could have scored.
Yeah,
but they were just a better side. I think. I hate these penalties that get given. I know they're penalties. The penalty that Harry Kane gave away, or the penalty that we got, Madueke got in the first game against the Croatians.
Yeah.
I mean, these are penalties. I know they're penalties, but
today they are.
Lamel wasn't going anywhere. There was no danger from the position that he was in, and they get a penalty because the players turned around and kicked him in the leg. So I get it, I understand it.
Yeah.
But they're soft penalties in my view.
Yeah.
But the Spanish were just a far better unit.
You said Rodri was past it. I mean, getting into his later years.
No, I didn't. I didn't say that at all.
He ran the show.
I didn't say that at all. I've not said that at all. I think Rodri's an absolute superstar of a footballer. I don't like his codswallop last year when he talked about going on strike. But as a footballer, I thought prior to his injury, he was an absolute Rolls Royce. I don't think there's any debate that he's not been the same player since he came back from injury, but that's maybe because he hasn't got the opportunities. But clearly, Manchester City think he's a different player now because they're going to move Elliot Anderson in his position and probably Rodri out the door.
Yeah.
But notwithstanding that, as part of a team with the composition of the Spanish, that a unit that's been built and honed in a certain way, and it's a sophisticated group of footballers, from the goalkeeper who has his individual moments, but notwithstanding, all the way up to the centre forward. Yeah. They are a very, very polished side. Well, I still felt that the French would have the ability to overcome them, and
they've got themselves to the final. The Spanish, De La Fuente afterwards. Now, I wonder if this is ominous as for who gets to the final to meet them. He says, of course, we would have loved to win the first game, but this is a process and it was all planned for us to reach these key moments in the best shape possible. Right. Now we are in great shape. The players are very excited and we've reached a peak after this long season. So good. De La Fuente is saying they're coming good just at the right time.
Well, if they reach their peak, then they go down the other side, aren't they? So they haven't reached it. He wants them to peak in the final. But to beat the favourites, the French, that nobody suggested, everybody, all of us, without fail, I don't know anyone besides Spanish pundits that might have tipped someone else other than the French in this game.
Yeah.
So the French were the expected team. So he's going to be riding high because they beat the favourites. They've gone and done it again to France.
Yeah.
They've proved that they are a better footballing country.
You don't worry that England have peaked already?
If England have peaked,
then you've got problems.
Christ knows what a trough is.
Emmanuel Petit on breakfast this morning, disappointed about the French. Disappointed, really, that they didn't really turn up.
We look so nervous, so far away from our level. Tactically and technically, we were so poor. Credit to Spain. They really deserve to win. They play really well. I thought that we were different with what happened, 4 years ago, but it was kind of the same game. And they control everything. We had no inspiration, no creativity, no personality. And it was so sad to watch them.
So sad to watch them. Spain are in the final, Simon, as opposed to his French side. Should that be viewed as a better proposition? Or, if England are there, are they still very much second best?
Yes. Yes, indeed.
Right.
I mean, we can't all tip.
No, fair enough.
We can't all tip France to go to the final, then suddenly say out of the ether, suddenly we've turned up, we've spun on our heels and say, oh, it's much better to have Spanish now. Or it would have been, the circumstances are what they are.
Yeah.
The Spanish have beaten the French in an individual game. Yeah. Now, whether the French didn't turn up, whether they lacked personality, as Emmanuel was saying, or they simply were just beaten by a better footballing side that as a unit were able to strangle the life out of the game by just controlling the tempo, controlling the texture of the game, and creating opportunities. And it could have been more. They could have scored more.
Yeah.
So with all that in mind, I think England going in against France would have been the underdogs. England going against the Spaniards would have been the underdogs because they're going against you. I mean, we saw the Spanish, with respect to ourselves, ruin us in the last final. Oh, yeah. I know we had a moment. We had Cole Palmer. But
you were back in it big time.
They were miles better than us. We might have been in it for a moment in time, but they were miles better than us.
Okay, well, now we know it is Spain who have got themselves to the final, and England hope to do the same tonight against Argentina. And that is what we will turn our attention to next. Atlanta, England take on Argentina, and it is live on talkSPORT. So are we at 1:15 on match day.
Couldn't get anywhere near Spain, could they, in the midfield? Do you think that the manager should have made a change at half-time? Maybe Digne come off for Hernandez, and also maybe an extra midfielder come on for an attacker?
Well, the fact that Rabiot left at the half-time because he received straight away, yellow card. He was probably our best player on the pitch for the first 45 minutes. But anyway, you could have changed the entire team, against Spain in halftime. It would have changed nothing. So I think we looked so nervous, so far away from our level. Tactically and technically, we were so poor. Credit to Spain. They really deserve to win. They play really well. I thought that we were different with what happened, 4 years ago, but it was kind of the same game, and they control everything. We had no inspiration, no creativity, no personality, and it was so sad to watch them because I had the feeling watching the game that it was kind of the same game against Morocco, but.
You know what was baffling me, Emmanuel, was whenever you won the ball back, just give the ball away cheaply. Everybody was. No shots on target.
We were so far away from each other,
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think tactically we lost the game, but technically as well, we were so poor, But we looked so nervous. So I still don't understand what happened yesterday. There's so many things that we're missing in that game, and that's why I think we should get over it and still work on it. And but Spain are still our worst enemy, actually, and it was a lesson of football yesterday, to be honest with you.
Hello, I'm Matt Forden from talkSPORT. This is How to Win the World Cup.
This is the best squad I think England have ever had.
He used to love America, now he doesn't. It's very sad.
It was so important to succeed because of all the pressure we received.
Don't jump for this one, I'm going to knock his head off.
Warning, this podcast does not guarantee England will actually win anything.
talkSPORT's Big Match Build-Up with Village Hotels. Watch the big games live in the pub and grill at your local Village Hotel. Find your nearest at villagehotels.com.
Yep, time to look ahead to the semi-finals with Village Hotels. Coverage begins on talkSPORT from 6:30. World Cup Game Day with Adrian Durham. Commentary from 8 o'clock. Jim Proudfoot and Stuart Pearce. We're going to get onto the game itself very shortly, Simon. But ahead of the game, Thomas Tuchel has defended Jude Bellingham's post-Norway interview, which caused so much debate back here. Tuchel instead took aim at the media.
Wonder who blows these things up, huh? No. So there is nothing to blow up, and if it's blown up in the media, of course. Like what you expect of a player that just played 120 minutes and gave literally everything. If you shorten the comment of his coach, if you don't tell him that he was world class, if you don't tell him that he has world class actions, if you just cut all this and tell him, oh, your coach said you were sloppy, what do you expect? Yeah, of course you get the comment that you get, and then you try to blow it up and try to create and then people try to create misunderstandings and cracks where no cracks are. We come from the same place. We come from being competitive, and I'm a competitive coach. I push this team to the limit, and that was my assessment. And like I said, I think the question was unfair in this moment of time towards Jude, because he cut all the compliments out of my assessment and just asked about the critical points. So I can understand what do you expect of a player that just gave everything and stands there in front of a microphone in a flash interview. It's just what it is. But close as ever, and closed more than ever before. So you can see that on the field. Energy and mentality in camp is excellent through the last days, and we're ready to go for it tomorrow.
So Tuchel's saying, Simon, they're still as tight a unit as they always were. Hasn't affected them at all. And of course, he's referring to those post-match interviews with ITV's Gabriel Clark and suggesting there that not all of what was at Gabriel's disposal was used when he spoke to Jude Bellingham. For example, the mentality is great, but that wasn't mentioned. Interestingly, one of the guests today on Paul Hawksby's show before us today here at talkSPORT was a hugely experienced former ITV reporter, Jim Rosenthal, who gave us his views on those post-Norway interviews.
Straight after the interviews, I sent Gabriel a text and I said, a masterclass in the art of post-match interviewing. And I would stand by that now. Gabriel's not a sensationalist. He's not out for headlines. He will look you in the eye and ask a straight question. Having been in that situation, I think he might have been slightly surprised when Tuchel came and said we were poor and we didn't do this and we didn't do that. That might have surprised him slightly, and he threw the mentality line in that Tuchel bit his head off about. But those situations, you've got a limited amount of time. There's no way that you're going to go, I'm going to ask him this and wind him up here, and then I'll get Bellingham, and by the way, what a story that's going to be. That's not Gabriel. Gabriel's the best in the business at doing that by a considerable margin, and has been for many years.
And he should know.
There you are. There's a huge surprise. Journalist, defence journalist. Oh, there's a revelation.
No, he should know. He's vastly experienced, and he knows Gabriel.
So what if he's experienced?
Funnily enough, in a strange way, has the dastardly media inadvertently created something of a siege mentality for England at just the right time for England?
No, I mean, the word that I would describe begins with D, but it isn't dastardly. And no, I don't think it does make any difference whatsoever. I never thought it did. The debate and the argument between you and I is not about whether, for me, my argument was never about whether it created division. My argument was about whether it was balanced. The only people that can create division or allow division are the player and the manager. The media can't do that. They can create a background temperature that other people can bite down on, and the fans can bite in. And if you poll probably 90% of the viewing public what they think of it, they don't think very highly of it. They think that was an interview that didn't need to happen in that way, and that it was not a balanced interview. And we can all talk about the motivations of the individual. The only person that knows categorically is the individual himself. And only he will know whether he felt there was an opportunity to advance the negative side of the conversation rather than the balanced side of it. And why he did that, that's up to him. My view on it is very simple. I don't potentially think that Gabriel Clark sat there with the divisive mentality. I think he's a product of his environment, where that is what happens. That's what the media wants, so that's what they do. I don't think he sat there going, oh, hang on a second, I've got a real opportunity. I think it's conditioned, built in. I remember an example years ago with Simon Greenberg. Simon Greenberg was the editor of the Evening Standard, a very influential media person. And he kept on writing divisive, crappy articles about me that were untrue and nothing to do with my football team. So eventually I had enough of it and stopped him from going in. His view was he went to all my sponsors and told the sponsors that they shouldn't be advertising with my football club anymore, and phoned me up and told me that the reason why my football team was successful was because of the way they reported it. Now tell me the media's attitude. I've seen it firsthand. I know what it looks like. Now, whether Gabriel Clark was Machiavellian or whether he was motivated by a headline, the outcome was, in my view, and most people's view, except yours and other journalists, is it was not a balanced interview.
But that experience you had all these years ago is still bound to reverberate with you, and it ended up a bad experience for you. But I sit in the media,
I see it.
So
I see the nature.
That will influence your view today.
You spent your whole time, without making this personal between you and I, you spent your whole time quoting on Tuesday Piers Morgan. As if Piers is some bastion for balanced reporting. He's not. He's a sensationalist.
There, minutes ago, we heard from one of the most respected figures in the game, Jim Rosenthal.
You heard him defending someone that he knows and worked with. A journalist defending a journalist. Now, the journalists are supposedly writing for their readers. Ask their readers what they think of it.
Yeah, but you have a set view, a very set in stone view of journalism, and at times what it can bring. And
I think good journalism.
You have a bad experience of it, as you've just brought up.
I think it's important, if you have a view and you have an opinion, to seed it in something and to give a reason why you have that view. Lots of people have opinions, right, without any substance behind them. They just fling them around like confetti. So I'm backing up my opinion of certain sections of the media and the way that the media operates en masse at times based upon experiential stuff. And also now I have the added other value set of sitting within the confines of the media and watching it firsthand.
But is it steeped in bias, Simon, because of previous experiences like the one you've just mentioned?
I have an open mind.
And I totally get that. And the one you mentioned, when people are getting at you on a personal basis.
No.
And that's wrong.
But that's the media's out there.
Wrong.
I used to sit in hotel bars watching all the journalists sitting at the bars, drinking themselves to Palookavilles, saying things about the players that were doing this, that and the other, whilst they're upstairs doing terrible things themselves. So I watch these old hacks. I've seen the industry. And now I sit here. I have an open mind to things. I don't think. What's the purpose of a mind if you can't change it? I'm not biased about anything. I don't sit there with a particular persuasion for politics or anything in society. I take things at first hand. I look at that interview, and do I believe in my mind, in my heart, that the sole purpose of it was to create headlines? No, I don't. But do I believe it was a balanced interview? And do I believe it could have been a better interview? And do I believe it was better to have balanced it out by saying to the player, on the post the game where they've just won one of the biggest games for English football, by the way, your manager thinks your mentality is great, but your performance was crap. Do I think that's a better interview? Yes, I do. Do I think that's a balanced interview? And do I think anyone could have said anything about that? No.
Might he not have still got the same answer from Jude Bellingham?
And then nobody, like me or anybody else, could utter anything, could they? Because they couldn't say it was balanced.
But if Gabriel Clark was to come on this show, and he might at a later stage when the World Cup comes and goes, and says, regarding that interview, which in some quarters was perceived to be divisive, if he was to come on and say, I can tell you guys that was never my intention.
I'd take him at face value.
Would you?
But I'd still say to him, but it wasn't balanced. I'll put aside your motivations. I'll say it's poor journalism on your part. Okay, we'll move away from the fact that you're a divisive journalist, and we'll give you that one, Gabriel, because we'll take it at face value because you're sat here defending your circumstances, and you're the only person that can answer to that circumstances. I'll then come straight over the wall and go, but it wasn't balanced. It wasn't fair. It wasn't objective. You confronted a player with only negatives. Why would you do such a thing?
But you did hear...
And he would turn around and say, because I didn't have enough time to prepare. I said, well, be a better journalist then.
One of the most experienced individuals in this line of business, Jim Rosenthal, has just said, no, I got on to Gabriel Clark and I praised him for such a good interview.
And Jim Rosenthal...
And for doing well.
And
because he's operated in these...
And Jim Rosenthal...
In these surroundings.
Is a journalist. And so he's looking at it through journalistic eyes. And if you're going to tell me that journalism isn't supposed to be balanced, then what the hell are you talking to me about?
The upshot is, Thomas Tuchel says, didn't affect anyone.
No, but go back.
We're stronger than ever. We're tighter than ever. And I think I heard John Stones say, nobody's mentioned that.
And I didn't think
we're all together as a unit.
I didn't think it would. But my point is, we all talk about the freedom of the press and having a free press. What kind of press do you want?
But if you didn't think it was going to be divisive among the squad, what was the outrage about?
You. And you're defending of it. And people of your kind that sat there justifying the journalist.
You always say never get offended on behalf of other people. That's exactly what you did.
I'm offended on behalf of circumstances that I've seen myself. I'm offended.
Yeah, that's where your bias comes from, because you were got at years ago by the media on a personal basis.
If you want to describe it as bias, right? Defeat my argument that the interview was balanced. Explain to me, besides excuses, why the interview was only represented as one version of what Thomas Tuchel said. Why wouldn't a journalist, a fully rounded, very experienced, top of his trade, best in his profession, motivated journalist, be incapable of presenting a balanced point of view to the player?
Maybe if Gabriel Clark had the chance again to do the interview again, he would.
Why would he?
He would.
He did it the way he wanted to first time round. He had no motivations to do it any other way.
But
or
you
could he have done it better?
Say he's operating in a high-pressure environment, and you only have a certain amount of time.
Do you know what
with these individuals post-match?
But do you know what happens when you're really, really good? You can operate in high-pressure environments. That's why you're in that position.
Do you now accept, though, after everything that's been said on this, and after you hear a character reference from someone as well respected as Jim Rosenthal, that it was never Gabriel Clark's intention to be divisive?
I don't know Gabriel Clark. So, and I'm not interested on second-hand testimonials. If Gabriel Clark was sat in front of me and I'm asking him a question and say to him, why would you do it this way? And the answers led me to a conclusion that his answers were not entirely honest, then I would say to him, I don't believe what you're saying. But if he sat in front of me and said, this is the reason why I did it this way, these are my reasons, because I cannot and you cannot explain to me why, besides, it's time, he's under pressure. Well, good people under pressure can respond to pressure and do it properly. So an objective, balanced, fair representation of what Thomas Tuchel would have been all of it. Not reading the script of what Tuchel said, because you made that point the other day. What's he supposed to do? Read every single word? No, he could paraphrase about the positives in the same way he paraphrased about the negatives.
We heard from Tuchel.
He didn't choose to.
We heard from Tuchel.
Everyone knows why.
Everyone's none the
journalists.
Everyone is none the worse. You've had a bad experience for years with journalists. And
it's
you
not
said that, and you mentioned it there
but
today.
I watch it now.
It must have a degree to do with your outlook on journalism.
No, that supports my views.
It's
you sat there, right? And I'm working with Piers, so I see it firsthand. You sat there and quoted Piers Morgan, and you know Piers Morgan is a red top merchant. You know he is. I know he is. And you quoted him as if he's the bastion of journalism. Even Piers Morgan said that. I would have think that would support the polar opposite view. But Simon, in most people's minds.
You think Piers Morgan is still so relevant in today's world of the media that you regularly work with him?
No, I think he's useful to me.
Well, same thing, isn't it?
No.
Anyway, let's talk about the game itself, because that's more important than anything. England-Argentina tonight. Tuchel says everyone's none the worse for that interview the other day. So let's get into the game itself. It's 1:30.
talkSPORT's Big Match Build-Up with Village Hotels. Watch the big games live in the pub and grill at your local Village Hotel. Find your nearest at villagehotels.com.
Mick McCarthy joined Simon and Piers, decided to take Piers Morgan on regarding an incident way back in 2009 when, as Wolves manager, he rested a number of players for a trip to Old Trafford.
I've always respected you hugely, genuinely, as a manager.
Except when I dropped 10 players at Wolverhampton.
Yeah, well, that was terrible.
You did say something that I was particularly unhappy about.
I thought it was shocking.
Yeah.
Yeah, go on. Well, what was your problem with what I said? You must have known I was right.
You're never right, mate. you just antagonise people with your comments, which you're doing on this show quite clearly. No. So when you said it, my job is to win games.
Yes.
We went to Spurs the Saturday before. We won 1-0 with about 35% possession. We've got Manchester United on the Tuesday. I went there and I dropped 10 players. I have a squad of 22. If I'm a manager, it's my right to manage that team how I see and get results.
And it's my right as an Arsenal fan who you were directly impacting with your cowardice
because you weren't good enough
you out on it.
Because you weren't good enough to win the title, and that Sir Alex won it again, and he won it. You weren't good enough, so you blame me, which is real bad on my part.
I know what Roy Keane's problem was.
No,
just to be clear, by dropping 10 players, you let United walk all over you, which had a direct impact on my team's chances of winning the league. I thought that was an appalling abrogation of your duty as a manager to entertain the fans with the best available team.
Clear you up. My duty was to beat Burnley on the Saturday, and we did.
Well, Mick hasn't forgotten, has he? That's for sure.
Oh, no, he went further than that. He said that Piers was a purveyor of the wrist action. Went into that sort of territory, which I was inclined to agree with.
What is the World Cup's most controversial moment? Hurst's goal, which definitely was a goal, Zidane's headbutt, Ronaldo's hell scare in '98. Nah, it's obviously Maradona's hand of God. Mexico City, 1986. England are set to take on Argentina in the World Cup quarter-finals. Both sides have won their group, and both are well fancied to lift the trophy. This game means more. Just 4 years on from the end of the Falklands War, and the hatchet has very much not been buried. It's a physical match, with Diego Maradona taking the brunt of a strong-handed approach from England's defenders. Despite a few early chances from England, Argentina are well on top, But luckily for the Three Lions, Peter Shilton's having a good day between the sticks. At half-time, it's goalless. 6 minutes after the break, the ball was played to the edge of the area. Steve Hodge sliced his clearance and it headed back towards his own goal. Up went Maradona's left hand and he punched it into the net. He wheeled away in celebration, urging his teammates to join him, while the England team was furiously surrounding referee Ali bin Nasser of Tunisia. Even decades later, Peter Shilton hadn't forgiven Maradona. Argentina won 2-1 and went on to lift the World Cup trophy. I mean, without the hand of God, we might never have got the song Three Lions. But we'd have another World Cup.
Good afternoon, everybody. Wednesday afternoon, 1:30. It's Jim White and Simon Jordan live on talkSPORT in partnership with Toolstation. First stop, Toolstation. Tonight's the night, isn't it? Spain have got to the World Cup final, and either England or Argentina will join them there. And tonight we will find out who gets there. So England have got themselves to a World Cup semi-final under Thomas Tuchel, and Tuchel has spoken about the fact that it's Argentina and the fact that it's a semi-final.
I think you cannot just say it's just another football match, but as a coach, we do exactly that. Focus on what we can influence. We don't actually, me and my team, between us, we don't speak about the historic events. We don't speak about the iconic moments. It's in itself iconic enough, and the tension is big enough. So we try exactly the opposite and try to influence the players and what we want them to do, how to behave in different situations. And we try to reduce the informations. The bigger the stage gets, the bigger the tension grows. So hopefully we can simplify the messages enough that they can execute it. We try exactly what is maybe not possible, but the magnitude of the match is just what it is. I think it does not help if we engage emotionally in that.
I totally get that, Simon. Yeah. I mean, I suppose that's a big part of his job, isn't it? Yeah. Like, everybody keep their feet in the ground here.
Yeah, absolutely. Play the game, not the occasion.
Yeah.
You know, play the game. You're playing against Argentinians, they're the current world champions. You've got Messi to deal with. You've got a great goalkeeper. You've got some players out there that are going to be difficult to overcome. We don't need all the background noise. Let other people deal with that. His job is to get his players' minds clear of anything else other than the inherent task of dealing with the opposition. And that doesn't include any jingoistic claptrap that they might be singing or their fans might be detailing. That is the fundamental focus of Thomas Tuchel, and he'll do it well. He will do it well.
If losing to Norway in the quarter-final was going to equate, in your words, to abject failure, if England were to go out tonight, and I don't want to sound pessimistic, to Argentina, what would that equal?
A complete invalidation of my argument, so I don't choose to dwell on that too much.
Seriously?
Yeah, well, because I can't have it both ways, can I?
So are you now out on a limb that after everything you've said about Southgate?
Yeah, for what my opinion is worth, I'm totally out on a limb. I'll be open to all kinds of observations from all of the Southgate defenders that couldn't see past any of the shortcomings, whether it be Stuart Pearce, who I love and adore, but notwithstanding it, he'll still have something to say about my opinions about Southgate. They'll be validated because we didn't beat anybody that we couldn't beat. We'd have gone into a tournament. On paper, you should beat the Norwegians. We did. On paper, despite all the background noise about the Mexicans, we were playing against the stadium and some altitude, and the altitude wasn't as bad as people thought it was going to be, and the temperature wasn't as bad as people thought it was going to be, and we've turned it into a heroic achievement, and well done us, because it's got history attached to it, but we should have beaten the Mexicans. I'm sorry. I know we had to overcome all those things, but on paper, we should and could still beat the Mexicans. We should certainly beat the Congolese, we should certainly have beaten the Ghanaians, and we should certainly beat the Panamanians. And we beat the Croatians, and they were better side than the media, or we, whoever, confected this idea that it was Dad's Army, the Croatians, and it isn't. We all had this belief that going against Croatians, we're going against a Dad's Army, and they're actually a year older on average than our team. So it wasn't Dad's Army. So a lot of puff and stuff there. But if we do not,
so what are the Argentinians then tonight? Apart from world champions,
they are the current world champions. They are probably on paper, if not the same as us, with Messi, the Messi effect, and the Messi effect has been so prevalent in this competition. Maybe, despite what the bookies are saying, in my mind, if you beat Argentina, you validate the appointment of Thomas Tuchel, because he's achieved something that his predecessor couldn't. Now, that doesn't mean that the platform that Southgate built isn't valuable. It does mean to me that opportunities were missed, and I'm keen and very motivated to make sure, for my own argument, but also for the betterment of the country, that Tuchel proves the point that when it comes on top, we play the best in the world, we beat them. What's the point of being seeded? We're seeded.
But having said that, Tuchel is now in charge of England and hasn't been long in charge.
Yeah.
And now they find themselves in a World Cup semi-final. And they found a way to get there.
Same as Southgate. How long was he in charge?
Can that not be constituted as success?
No.
Even if they go out?
No.
Even if they're out tonight?
Because Southgate's success will be greater, because Southgate picked up a platform that wasn't built. He was coming off the back of Iceland. He was coming off the back of Sam Allardyce, imploding. He was coming off the back of a country that was disinterested in the football team because the media had given up, even bother cheerleading about it anymore, because they're so depressed with what they were seeing. And 18 months later, we're in a World Cup semi-final against Croatia. Tuchel's coming off the back of the European Championship final, the quarterfinals of the World Cup, another European Championship final, and a semi-final World Cup. It's rosy in the English garden. It just needed someone that when those roses were there to be bloomed, they were given the right fertilizer.
Right.
And so here we are now.
Yeah.
Here we are now.
Yeah.
In a World Cup semi-final with a better platform, with a better set of opportunities, because Southgate left us with a better legacy than the one that Southgate inherited. And this is the guy that flicks the switch that Southgate couldn't flick. And if he doesn't flick it, then what does it say about us? Because we can beat these Argentinians. We can beat them. And it's entirely up to the players and the way that they're set up. And it might be up to Tuchel in this game when a decision comes on top, when he has to do something different. We will then see if my theory and lots of other people's theories is right.
So if Argentina were to overcome England tonight, would it reshape your view on Southgate? Would it reshape your view on Tuchel?
Well, it would reshape my argument, wouldn't it? Because I wouldn't have one.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a slippery little sod, so I'd find a way to wriggle around it. But notwithstanding it, in the broadest terms, it would defeat and refute significant aspects of my argument. Now, we have to take each case on point. If we play brilliantly this evening and we get two players sent off and they get a penalty in the 94th minute, then these things can shape the dynamic. But I don't anticipate we're going to be in that position. If those sort of potential excuses can be mooted out, and removed, and it's a one-on-one circumstance, my whole argument, the whole validity behind putting an elite manager in place, the raison d'etre for Thomas Tuchel building off the platform to put England, because all this crap that we've listened to, everyone was making excuses before going into this World Cup about the weather was going to defeat England. None of that's played into it, has it? None of the weather situation. England won't go deep in this tournament because of the weather. Here they are, in line with their seeding, and the draw has been kind to them. They didn't get Spain. They didn't get France. They got Norway in the quarterfinals. They didn't get Belgium. They didn't get any of the other sides.
They didn't get Brazil.
They didn't get Brazil. Right. So they've had everything in their favour. Now they've got to beat Argentina. So bloody well do it.
Right. Okay. So let's hit this break then on an optimistic note. Say they do it tonight. 60 years on, what would it mean to you as an England fan to see England reach a World Cup final? Can you do that for us? Come to air and join us. 03717 223344. It's been 60 long years. In fact, before we listen to our first England fan, Simon, I know you weren't born. I was. I remember it. 60 years on. What's it going to mean to you to see England in a World Cup final on Sunday?
Validate my arguments. I mean, it comes with slings and arrows, isn't it? Because ultimately, you now elevate these footballers sometimes that don't deserve the kind of praise that they get into superstars, almost deity status.
They deserve a lot of praise.
So they'll get a lot. So there's a little bit.
They would do
a little bit of that side of things that I don't appreciate. But I think it's wonderful for the country. Football, as we know. As I know, that's why I bought a bloody football club. It brings out such emotions in people, brings out such a sense of belonging. We live in a time and place where we seem to spend our entire time consumed by bad news. Now, not necessarily in the sporting arena, but outside of it. We hear terrible things. We've just lost, a politician for a dreadful murder because of people's division in this country and the hatred that people have towards certain people's outlooks and beliefs. So something like England football team cleansing and clarifying people's thinking for a brief moment, taking people out of their lives and their miseries and their challenges and the cost of living crisis and Christ knows what other else dreadful things we can feed people's eyeballs with every day, and showing them something that lifts people. Look, I was watching today, and it would never be me, but I was watching Good Morning Britain, and you see this family that have dressed up as the Three Lions. And it's the father and the son and his daughter, and they've travelled all around America. And there's nothing in the world that you could pay me to dress me up as a Three Lion and do what they're doing. But they are so motivated by it. They're so enthusiastic by it. They're so inspired by the England team. They're so inspirational to other people that are loving what they're doing. That's what football can bring.
Yeah.
So that's what it brings. And if England win the World Cup, it will bring such a moment in time for this country, a small moment in time, and we'll be back to misery, doom, and crisis straight afterwards. But something to revel in, something that our country can turn around and say, we're better than everybody else, rather than everyone telling England what it did in the past, how it colonised the world. Now it's this, now it's that.
Yeah,
something positive.
Let's hear from you. 60 years on, what would it mean to you as an England fan to see England in a World Cup final? And that World Cup final is against Spain on Sunday.
Winning it.
Give us a call. 03717 22 3344.
Do you think that you're more confident about tomorrow beating Argentina than you were against beating Croatia?
100%, yeah.
Why?
Because that was early on in that group of players with Gareth Southgate. It was early on, and Croatia had some side back then. Croatia were probably favourites in that game. They were that good of a team. But I think when you go forward, 8 years, and you look at where we are now as a squad of players, the experience they've got in tournaments, how they've got to finals and semi-finals, I think this game we should win more than Croatia game. I've got honestly total faith. If I was gonna go to the final, I would have bought my tickets now. That's how confident I am that we beat Argentina.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's look at how they play. I look at their weaknesses. I look at how we can get in and around Messi. We've got players that have played against Alvarez before in the Premier League when he was at Manchester City. We know their team of players, and I'm sure with this manager, how pumped he is, how maybe not negative, but how honest he was about how he didn't play good enough against Norway. Previous England managers after the game would have been like, I'm so proud of these players. It wasn't the best of performances, but whoopie-doo. Do you know what I mean? They'd be so positive, but he was negative in the right way. Of like, come on, we're better than this.
We can do it.
I didn't like the phases of play. I didn't like how certain players played. He's honest because he knows to beat Argentina, you've got to be better, play with the best football you played in the tournament. And then if you play France or Spain, you have to, everyone's got to be on it.
Mm-hmm.
You only beat those two teams if every player has the game of their lives, not just Kane and Bellingham, not Anderson and Konsa as well. Needs to be everybody to win a World Cup, I think.
6:10 on Tuesday morning, Gabby Agbonlahor is confident that you'll get to a final.
Get ready to get that winning feeling with talkSPORT Win. This summer, talkSPORT is bringing you live and official coverage of every game of the FIFA World Cup 2026. And to celebrate, we're giving away £26,000 guaranteed. Go to win.talksport.com to enter now, and you could win 26 grand in your hand, tax-free. Enter now, and you could be the next to get that winning feeling, courtesy of talkSPORT Win. Find out how to enter now at win.talksport.com.
The Playbook with talkSPORT Bet. Download the app or visit talksportbet.com for all the latest odds and offers. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
So it's time to look ahead to tonight with talkSPORT Bet. Their ambassador Ryan Douglas is in studio with Simon and myself. Ryan, good afternoon to you, mate. You become a big part of this show during this World Cup, and we're delighted about that. Argentina, England. What's the thinking at talkSPORT Bet? Is it going to be feisty?
It could be feisty, couldn't it? I mean, the thinking with me is I'm nervous. I was telling you in the break. I woke up with the nerves all through my body. My hands got the tingles. I haven't felt that in ages. So I personally am feeling this one in the pit of my stomach. But of course, it's steeped in rivalry, it's steeped in history. Will it be a feisty one? So I've just pulled a few things out of some of the feisty markets. Over 0.5 VAR reviews if the ref goes to the monitor. talkSPORT Bet can pay that out evens. That blew Sean Dyche's mind last week on this show. But yes, we do offer that. Thomas Tuchel to receive a card. That's on at 11-4. A straight red card dismissal in the game. That's on at 11-2. I've put Argentina to miss a penalty here. That's nothing to do with being feisty. That's perhaps just me being optimistic. That's 20-1. But yeah, you mentioned, Simon, in the last segment, don't play the occasion. The fans mustn't play the occasion. Does that extend to...
Play what they want. The players haven't got to play
what about the players? What about the players themselves? Argentina potentially can do the dark arts. Is it important not to get sucked in by that?
But they're big players, aren't they? I mean, all of these players are playing at big football clubs. So I don't think that they'll do what they do if they're silly enough to get drawn into what Argentina. I mean, I don't know how much of the dark arts Argentina do. I mean, we're all conspiring in our mind's eye because we've got ratting in our rearview mirror from 1966. Yeah, the Argentinians are a bit more than just the kicking side, but I think that the England players have just got to concentrate on what they're doing and make sure that they're operating at their highest level. You've got players that play in Spain, like Jude Bellingham playing at the biggest football clubs in the world. You've got the best players in England playing at the biggest clubs around the world. They can deal with this occasion. Yeah. They can deal with this. The fans can get drawn in. The fans and the media, and we can all start getting hysterical. Well, the players will maintain, I think, a degree of focus, and Thomas Tuchel does what he does. Thomas Tuchel doesn't maintain his decorum. He gets animated, he gets involved and invested because, quite frankly, that's his job. That's what he should be doing to enliven the players up. And their job is to make sure that they are calm in certain situations. The interesting thing is, you think the English will keep the Argentinians out. We've shown no evidence of that in any of the games that we've played in that we defend well. That's a big concern.
I take your point, but
they're resolved, no doubt. They're throwing their body in the way of it.
I have a feeling, and I'm very keen to see Argentina's reaction, Ryan, if they lose an early goal and England get ahead.
Yeah. They go into this as the underdogs in terms of the odds. I know Simon said, it could go either way, and I do tend to agree with him, to be honest. But you're right. Yeah. If with the firepower that England have, if they go one up, I mean, it would be fantastic for us, yes. But do they have enough? They'd have to step onto us. So yeah, it's interesting dynamic that.
Where are you taking us with Kane and Messi then?
Yeah, well, the tournament of the big player, isn't it? And these two have 13 goals between them. They've been absolutely sensational. So talkSPORT Bet have, as they have been doing, super boosting basically for every single game throughout this tournament, and they've super boosted both players to have a shot on target. It was odds on, and it's gone to evens. If you go to TalkSport Bet, download the app, go on site, that will be there as the McCoist Super Boost offer that's on there, beautifully branded. Naturally, of course, Argentina. Well, we're scared of Messi, but Argentina, for all the nervy England fans, they'll be thinking about Bellingham and they'll be thinking about Kane as well, won't they?
Yeah, the McCoy Super Boost.
The McCoy Super
What do
Boost.
you mean?
Yeah.
Sir Alan Sugar last night, he said he couldn't understand a word McCoy said.
Did he?
Apparently.
I like Alan.
Apparently. How will the tie be decided,
I know.
Ryan?
I know, what a way to end the betting segment, but we have to think about it, don't we? Like you say, if England go 1-up and Argentina have to step on us and they equalise, that whether it's cagey or whether it's open, it could go all the way this game, as I say.
Yeah.
There's enough firepower for it to be the case. So England to win in extra time, like they did against Norway, 7-1. Argentina to win in extra time is 13-1. And for either side to win on penalties, which I'm sorry, I don't know if I could take, but it's I have to say to the nation, the price is 13-2. The Norway game was a different dynamic, wasn't it, Simon? Because we said, I think we both agreed, if it goes to penalties, we'd be slightly disappointed even if we got through.
Yeah.
Now it is kind of any means necessary, isn't it?
I'll be disappointed if it goes to penalties in this game.
Would you still?
Yeah. Why do you want to go to penalties? I mean, if it goes to penalties, it's because you've been unable to achieve the outcome in 120 minutes, and you're now giving yourself a lottery. So who wants to be in that position? You'll take it if you win on the back of it, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't be sitting here suggesting that's a wonderful achievement to have got to penalties. I would want to see England winning inside orthodox time, whether that's the 90 minutes plus extra time or it's inside the 90 minutes or wherever it comes.
I don't think England fans are nervous anymore about a penalty shootout. I think there was a time, oh God, penalties, and we know what happened in the past. But if it goes to penalties tonight, I don't think, oh gee, here we go, here's England and another penalty shoot. I don't think it'll be like that.
There's a dread for penalties because it is a lottery. And
On both sides, though, surely.
On both sides, yeah. But we had ample reason for that because every time we came up against the Germans in penalty shootouts or other teams, we always failed. No, you've laid those dragons, you've slayed them.
But you got rid of that in 2018.
You might not be going in there with the feeling of absolute doom, but going into a penalty shootout, you'll be full of trepidation. Look at Man United get knocked out by Grimsby in the Cup. Man United got multi-million-pound footballers. You've got guys that are doing other jobs working for Grimsby, playing for Grimsby at the same time and they could score penalties and Man United couldn't. So whenever you go into a penalty shootout, whoever it is, it's a bloody lottery.
It's great for you guys, Ryan, because there's a variety of different ways the tie can be decided.
Yeah, exactly.
And of course, you can offer a few decent offers to the punters because of that.
Yeah, a plethora of markets, to be honest. So you can look at the 90 minutes, which England are favourites for as well. But they were odds-on favourites for the Norway game. I have to put that out there. And then that goes all the way to extra time. And I get Simon's sentiment about it being a lottery myself. Against a big nation, I assume if it's gone to penalties, it would be because obviously you can't tear the two apart. And as long as we get to the final, I'm there now. I'm just.
But Martinez is a bloody good goalkeeper. He's a really good goalkeeper.
Yeah.
You don't want to be taking too many penalties against him because he'll save some of them.
I know.
You never know with Pickford. You never know.
Yeah.
Good at penalties as well. I have to say. Good at saving them.
Ryan, brilliant. Thanking you, Ryan. We'll know next time we see you.
I know.
Which will be tomorrow.
I know.
You can watch the games live in the pub and grill at your local village hotel. In the meantime, that was Ryan, as always, and he joined us thanks to talkSPORT Bet. 18 plus, gambleaware.org.
The Playbook with talkSPORT Bet. Download the app or visit talksportbet.com to see all our latest sign-up offers. 18 plus, gambleaware.org.
Look, we've seen some amazing players play for England in my lifetime, but I feel that what Bellingham is doing, even if you compare it to Kane, and Kane is an icon, Kane is one of England's greats as well, but Bellingham feels different.
Do you think?
Yeah.
Do you think he's the greatest player to ever play for England?
Can we frame this question in a slightly different way?
Go on.
Can we just discount the 66 winners? Okay. I can't.
You can't
They've won it,
go
right?
against Bobby Moore.
They've won it. They've won it.
Okay,
Like,
but is he the best player you've seen in an England shirt ever?
he's not. He's probably not the best player, but he might be the best England player, the best player for England. Like, look, you could argue that Steven Gerrard was a better player than him. You could argue that Paul Scholes was. You could argue that lots of players were, but none of them did it for England in the way that Bellingham has already. Already, 22 years old. Already, think about what happened in Qatar. Think about what happened in Germany, and this World Cup, he's taken it to a completely different level.
Yeah,
like I think it's amazing. I don't know Rooney never did it for England quite like Rooney. I was there. Rooney scored 1 goal at a World Cup for England.
Yeah,
like Jamie Carragher wrote a piece in yesterday's Telegraph, and he was talking about Gaza. He was kind of making the comparisons with Gaza. Gaza captured a nation, and all that.
Yeah,
and he obviously did. And you think of his performances in Italian '90 and then Euro '96, but I didn't know this until I read Carragher's article. Gaza didn't score at Italian '90. He didn't score. Bellingham's got 6 in 6. It's different. I don't see how you can say that he's not better than what Gerrard did for England. Gerrard had his moments, remarkable footballer. But Rooney's contribution, Gerrard's contribution, Lampard's contribution, it just can't be bigger than what Bellingham has already done. Do you agree?
Yeah, I kind of do. I mean, Gaza was my idol growing up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and I look at what he'd done and how he played. I think Bellingham's better.
Talk Sport.
I'm Ben Fletcher. Good afternoon. 6 hours until kickoff, and a veteran of England versus Argentina has told talkSPORT the key for the class of 2026 tonight is to rise above the dark arts.
Argentina are very good at winding people up, at sort of making the most of a foul when it's against them, and you know, leaving a foot in and getting away with things. So it's really important that England again don't get drawn into a frustrated version of themselves at any point, whatever the score is.
Graham Lasso there, who was part of the France 98 squad, he reckons dealing with Lionel Messi is a two-man job. The row between Thomas Tuchel and Gabriel Clark continues over the ITV reporter's line of questioning post-Norway. Legendary broadcaster Jim Rosenthal's told talkSPORT his former colleague's done nothing wrong.
Gabriel's the best in the business at doing that by a considerable margin, and has been for many years. And when Gabriel put it to him, your manager wasn't very happy overall, and he shrugged his shoulders and said, whatever, fine.
Declan Rice and Reece James are ready to start tonight. Argentina's players are gearing themselves up by watching clips of Maradona. And despite Lionel Scaloni asking people not to confuse football with politics, Argentina's vice president has called England invaders on a post on X, where she also brings up the Falklands. Build up to our live commentary gets underway at 6:30 this evening on talkSPORT. To Paris, where 141 arrests have been made following riots that erupted in the wake of France's shock 2-0 defeat to Spain. Kylian Mbappe's criticised the outgoing coach Didier Deschamps for letting Spain win the midfield battle. And Sunderland have completed the signing of 34-year-old Belgian right-back Thomas Meunier on a 2-year deal. Finally, the ICC has revamped the format for the 2027 Men's World Cup. The field's been cut from 14 teams to 12 after a preliminary round. That means just one of the 3 lowest-ranked qualifiers will go through to the group stage. Plenty more at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
Sir Keir Starmer says he's proud to leave the country in a better shape than he found it, and an extra 6 million pints are expected to be poured before, during and after tonight's big match. Sinead has more at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit, your go-to destination for quality tyres from great brands like Continental. Visit your local centre or quickfit.com and book today.
Low cloud hanging about along the eastern coast. Elsewhere, fine and dry, plenty of hot sunshine. The southwest could see the odd thundery shower.
Hi everybody, Jim White, Simon Jordan, live in talkSPORT, 4 minutes past 2 o'clock this afternoon, Wednesday afternoon, July the 15th, the day of the second World Cup semi-final, which features England against Argentina. Live commentary, of course, of that tonight. Coverage begins on talkSPORT from 6:30. World Cup game day with Adrian Durham, and then commentary from me, Jim Proudfoot and Stuart Pearce. You can watch tonight's game, the semi-final action, live in the pub and grill at your local village hotel. Find your nearest at villagehotels.com. We're with you all afternoon, well, till 4 o'clock at least, and plenty to talk about between now and then. I can assure you of that. Very much looking forward to speaking to this lady later on. She's going to join us from Atlanta, the scene of the game later on tonight. Award-winning Argentine sports writer Marcela Mora y Araujo is going to be joining us later on this afternoon, Simon. And I've been told you'll enjoy this. It will get very interesting. So we look forward to that lady joining us later on in the proceedings. But 60 years on, from 1966, of course, what would it mean to you as an England fan to see England reach a World Cup final? They've come close, but not close enough. Now they could do it tonight if they beat Argentina. 60 years on, what would it mean to you as an England fan? 03717 223344. Mark is a big Wolves and England fan. Mark, you've managed to get yourself to air, mate, amidst many callers. What would it mean to you?
Yeah, hi Jim, hi Simon, great show as always. Yeah, oh God, it would mean the world to me, as it would, I assume, so many of England fans, obviously just itching to finish work and get down the pub and start the celebrations. But yeah, just hope tonight, we can put in that fluid performance that obviously we were lacking a little bit against Norway, and obviously our main threat is going to be Messi. So if we can, keep an eye on him, he's obviously going to sit between the lines, and we need to make sure that Anderson and Rice, if they're passing him on, that the centre halves look after him, because that's going to be the biggest threat. And him winning free kicks, I think, on the edge of the box will be very dangerous. But yeah, what it will mean is just absolutely everything. So I think, come on boys, we could do it tonight and put on a real show for the fans and get into that final.
Mark, I can hear it in your voice. I mean, are you quietly optimistic?
Obviously, got to back the boys. I think player for player, I think we look much stronger than them, but obviously you can't underestimate Argentina. They're a great team. They're the current reigning champions. So we've got to be mindful. We've got to play our game, and we've got to go there with the intensity. And I think the conditions will help us tonight because it's under the roof. It won't be as hot and as sweltering as it was in the Norway and Mexico game. So I think that will work in our favour as well.
Okay, thanks for the call, Mark. David's a big Southampton fan, England fan. David, what's it going to mean to you if you get to that final, mate?
Hi, Jim. Hi, Simon. Thanks for having me on. I'm 57 years old, 58 next month. I think there's been 15 World Cups since I've been on the planet. 3 or 4 England haven't been participating in. I've experienced nothing but sadness and disappointment over those years. Our boys tonight have one opportunity, and for those of us of a certain generation, having experienced all that disappointment, apart from one I remember when we beat, I think, Colombia on pens in 2018, when I was in a pub full of jocks and they were giving me and my family a load of grief when final penalty went in. It was fantastic. That was the only joy I felt from an England perspective. I really do hope that the boys can deliver for our generation, because I look at the other end, I've probably got 3 or 4 more that I'm going to enjoy, if I'm doing okay. So come on, boys, do it for the Grey Brigade.
Well done, David. Thank you for that. Darren's a Spurs fan. Darren, where are you with this? You're dreaming of this final.
Yeah, for me, it's really about my son and introducing him to my passion of football, because I've become quite apathetic, a little bit like the previous guy, of a certain age, lots of disappointment, but yet seeing him when the World Cup comes around and getting his wall chart out and being excited over every game and looking at me as if to say, what's wrong with you, Dad? Why aren't you feeling the same passion as I am? But I know, he will be, he has his flag out, he dresses the living room up, he plays all the songs beforehand, he has a big build-up, and just to see his face, if we get through, and to embrace him, it will just be, that would mean everything to me.
Darren, you've made me think of that family picture that you're going to have tonight, and it's very much a family occasion for you. You're all together, and you're all urging them to get to that final on Sunday.
and it's probably no different, Jim, in any other household. And what I would say is, if the England players who are listening, don't feel the weight of this country on your shoulders, you haven't. You've got the wing, but you've got where the wind's beneath your arms, with the hands beneath your feet holding you up. We're all there for you. We're all behind you. We're all supporting you.
Darren, thank you for the call. Here's Sam, a big Liverpool fan. Sam, are you happy with Iraola before we go anywhere?
Well, it's way too early to comment on that, isn't it? But first impressions, yes, this is the way he plays.
Okay, mate. What about this World Cup semi-final tonight? You dreaming of Sunday?
Today. The excitement today is absolutely unreal, and your show in the last hour has just really got me G'd up for it. I'm so confident now. I honestly think we might win 2 or 3-0, and that's the feeling I've got. And I don't normally feel confident with England, but I do today.
And what's giving you that confidence? That's interesting, Sam. Come on.
Well, I mean, look, they struggled against Cape Verde. I mean, I think Lionel Messi was probably thinking he'll score 4 or 5 goals in that game and he'll be winning the Golden Boot, you know. But they struggled. They've had some really hard games, and I just think we've got the team to beat them comprehensively. Honestly, feel that.
Sam, thank you for that. That's the kind of optimism you want to hear, isn't it? If you're an England fan, you're thinking, are we going to do... you hear Sam there and you think, yeah, why not?
Listen, I don't necessarily take that from the caller. I take it from seeing the team line up in the first 10 minutes and see how they play.
Yeah.
But I am optimistic. I'm enthusiastic. I think it's a great game. Again, we get the best side of the draw, so we've got to maximise it. And there's some good players in this Argentinian side. Despite me keep on saying that they're not a great side, they've got some very good players in there.
Oh, they have.
Got some very established Premier League players in there. And let's hope that Romero has one of his days where he thinks he's bigger than everybody else and starts causing problems left, right, centre for his own team.
You're now going to talk about Romero before we go today at 4 o'clock. Birmingham fan Shabs joins us live. Shabs, you'll be a huge, being a Blue, you'll be a huge Jude Bellingham fan, right?
Yes, mate, definitely. Half the families as well. But I think we're going to win. I think we ain't got nothing to worry about, to be fair. I know they are a good side, but they're dirty as well, so I'm not bothered about them. We can sort them out. It's going to be, I think Messi's going to score the first goal, first half. Kane's going to score to draw in the first half, and then second half, Bellingham, and I think Saka's going to score. So it's going to be 3-1.
And Shabs, tell me, what would it mean to you? Say they do it and they get to the final on Sunday. In between now and Sunday, what's that going to be like?
Oh, it's going to be heaven. My son's a proper Blue Nose. He's 17 years old. He's followed football since he could kick a ball. And I'm taking him uptown tonight to watch it. I'm 56, so I never saw it, so... Oh, it's a dream come true, honestly. I'll probably just collapse on the floor.
I hope not. Shab, stay well, mate. Stay with us.
Thank you, mate.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Dave's a big Manchester United fan. Dave, where are you at with this? Are you dreaming of Sunday in England in that final?
Oh, yeah, dreaming of it big time. Really hoping. I'm 67 now. I remember back in the 66 final, watching the game at home with mum, dad, brother and sister. We all got in the car after the game and went up to London to the team hotel where they were celebrating. Bit of a crush, and the police lifted us over the barrier, and we was able to see all the team come out and celebrate with them. 67 now, so I'm thinking getting near me last chance to see them win it. So I'm fully 100% behind it. Really looking forward to tonight. And just come on, England, come on! I think we're going to do it.
How will you feel tonight when you go to your bed and England have done it and they've got to the final, Dave? I mean, the next few, what is that going to be like? In view of what you've just told me, you were around when they won in 66. What's it going to be like, that feeling that they're in another final?
I'll be honest with you, I don't think I'll go to bed. I'll probably be up half the night. You know, I've got to go to work at 5:30 in the morning, so I've got to take it easy on the beer tonight.
Yeah.
But I will be celebrating in my own way, and I'll be up half the night watching all the after-match celebrations, etc. And I'll probably go to bed when I get home from work in the morning.
Brilliant, Dave. Fantastic. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. It's so interesting, Simon, that different generations of England fans are calling in with different memories. Dave there, he was around when they won it in 1966. I'm Scottish. I was around when they won it in 1966. The day I remember vividly sitting with my father and watching it. And ever since then, whenever I see reruns of 1966, it's that England red jersey that day. And I've been fortunate over the years here at talkSPORT and before that at Sky to have had various conversations along the way with some of the guys who played that day.
Sure.
With Big Jack, with Sir Bobby. I've spoken on occasion with George Cohen, the late George Cohen. Of course, now Sir Jeff is the only one around.
Yeah, I remember speaking to Alan Ball. Used to tell wonderful stories when he used to do after dinner speaking about his journey and how he won the World Cup and his father's relationship with whatever he achieved was never good enough, and he kept on getting from Blackpool to Everton to the World Cup, winning the World Cup, and his father kept on telling him it wasn't good enough, and how he was telling this wonderful story. So yes, I mean, I met Nobby Stiles, I met Jeff Hurst, I've met Alan Ball. So I met Martin Peters, and had conversations with them. I mean, it'll be interesting, what Jeff Hurst's attitude towards would be. I remember sitting with him 3 or 4 years ago before we went to Qatar, and he came in the studio a couple of times. And they're desperate for England. They don't want to be just the only part of history that hasn't been superseded.
Oh no, he's the biggest England fan. Yeah, he wants to see England over the line. So we shall see. Tonight it's live in talkSPORT, and you will not miss a treat. Coverage begins 6:30. World Cup game day with Adrian Durham. Commentary from Jim Proudfoot and Stuart Pearce. You imagine how Stuart Pearce is feeling. Wow. What a moment. What a moment. We'll see if they can get to that final. We're live in talkSPORT at 2:15 this Wednesday afternoon. Are we too late in the tournament to expect England to suddenly spark into something new?
The opposition it's like stars make fights. The oppositions make the opportunity for teams to play well. Croatia made the opportunity for England to play well because of the way they set up.
Right.
I don't think the Argentinians were set up that way. I don't think England are a particularly good side. As a unit, I don't think we're a particularly cohesive, fluid, easy on the eye side. What we are is a formidable team that you have to try and beat. We're like a dog. You've got to stamp us down. There's a lot of dog in this side.
Right.
We're strong, physical side.
We're strong.
In the
We're physical. We have an indomitable spirit. Is that going to be enough when it comes on top to beat technically better sides? Which I don't think Argentina.
No, I think Tuchel knows it won't be. That's why.
Specifically, that's what I wanted to put to you, Martin, because Michael Owen in the Mail. England were played off the park by Norway for large periods and couldn't get control of the game. It was exactly as I feared. I hear a lot of people now saying it would just have to be this way, England winning ugly. Then he says, crucially, I haven't given up on England being better against Argentina on Wednesday.
No, I agree with some of that.
Are you with him on that?
Some of that I agree with, but it's about finding a way to win, and they've done that now. So this is the moment. You got in Bellingham, one of the best players in the world right now.
Oh, he's magnificent.
But you have to credit the manager for taking him to this level. We didn't have this level before from him. He started to slip in an England shirt. If you remember, Morgan Rogers was playing for large periods of the season. He wasn't, Jim. So he's got this player to boiling point. So let's not be surprised if it's a little bit tetchy, because he's trying to prove the manager wrong. But we have got the players who can win this game. There's no doubt about it. The only problem, what you're up against is a Messi, who the whole team configures itself around him, and they move. He can walk from box to box.
Yeah.
And what they do, he doesn't even look at the ball until he's ready. He puts his hand in the air, they give it to him, and then it's set for him. He has a picture.
Yeah.
And he has all these players in positions.
See,
they do it beautifully. That's what we're up against.
ready to get that winning feeling with talkSPORT Win. This summer, talkSPORT is bringing you live and official coverage of every game of the FIFA World Cup 2026. And to celebrate, we're giving away £26,000 guaranteed. Go to win.talksport.com to enter now, and you could win 26 grand in your hand, tax-free. Enter now, and you could be the next to get that winning feeling, courtesy of talkSPORT Win. Find out how to enter now at win.talksport.com.
Wednesday afternoon, July the 15th, semi-final day in the World Cup, England-Argentina. Jim White, Simon Jordan, live in talkSPORT in partnership with Toolstation for your trade or DIY projects. First stop, Toolstation. Let me bring you right down to earth, Mr. Jordan.
Indeed.
In 1 month, the championship season gets underway.
Indeed.
Can you believe it?
Yep, no surprise there.
Crazy but true. So it's all World Cup hysteria at the moment, with the final still to come on Sunday. But in 1 month's time, the championship season gets underway. Now, in May, you might remember, the EFL expelled Southampton from the playoff final against Hull after finding that a club intern had spied on Middlesbrough before the semi-final first leg. Southampton and Eckert, the manager Tonda Eckert, also admitted to the EFL Disciplinary Commission that the manager had, quotes, specifically authorised spying against two other opponents during the season. So it's pretty much a case of, well, it's a fair cop, and that's it. Tonda Eckert spoke not long after that and apologised for his part in it.
I am responsible. I am responsible for everything that has happened in this football club. I am responsible for everything that has happened in my coaching staff. I do apologize to the supporters, to everyone who has traveled with us, who has supported us over so many games. I apologize to the players who have done absolutely everything that they can, absolutely everything in the last 6 months to bring this football club back to where it belongs.
Now, at that time...
Not good enough, we want more.
You might recall that it was expected that the owner, Dragan Solak, would sack Eckert.
But he didn't.
And he held on to him. And he spoke as to why he's decided Eckert stays.
As I have said, I want to close this chapter and look ahead. And I want to look ahead together as one, including Tonda and his staff. Tonda's period as our head coach has been a success so far. Our form during 2026 has been remarkable, and we believe he is the man to take us forward. As a board, we are fully behind him, and together we only have one objective. We want promotion back to Premier League.
So, Eckert stays, but what does his future really hold? Because the future of Tonda Eckert remains up in the air, Simon, as he waits to learn the outcome of an FA investigation into Spygate. Eckert could still face a range of sanctions from the FA, including a 12-month suspension from all football activity.
Oh, yeah.
So Southampton begin their season away to Watford on August the 16th. You still have to wonder, and he still wonders, if he's going to be in the dugout.
So where have we got that from then? This idea that he's going to get a 12-month ban? Because the last person that got dealt with was Bielsa, and all he got was a formal warning from the FA. Now we know that the EFL ramped up the consequences because it was a playoff circumstance, and they took a ridiculous decision, in my view, to go from the extremes of go to the extremes they went to. You went from the Leeds situation with £200,000 fine to removing somebody from potentially winning the biggest game in English football. They made that decision. So if the FA want to make headlines for themselves and add value to what they feel that their reputation is going to be burgeoned by, then they'll do something ridiculous.
Well, there's a precedent, because we're talking about the possibility of a 12-month suspension.
Yeah.
That was the punishment handed to Canada women's coach Bev Priestman by FIFA in 2024 after she was found to have been involved in using a drone to spy on New Zealand at the Paris Olympics. 2 of her staff also received individual 1-year football bans. So it's been done before.
Is there different guidelines for international? I don't know. I'll be amazed if they do that, if the FA do that. And of course, what will happen is that Southampton will appeal it and put legal representation in and do their very level best to ensure that the person they've decided, they were not going to fire the manager. What was the point of firing the manager? They'd already been sanctioned. Or they actually believe the manager's done is a very capable manager. We'll see.
Did you expect Southampton to be chucked out of the playoffs?
No.
And they were.
And I thought it was a massively disproportionate sanction. And I think we said it at the time, and I'm sure that the other side of the argument, Middlesbrough fans vehemently disagree. But I think it was a massively disproportionate. If anyone knows anything about football, the game is littered with people trying to take liberties. And this is not an unfamiliar. If you think he's the only person that does this, then you're away with yourself. He's someone that's got caught, and all of a sudden the game is holier than thou, full of pious observations. I understand you've got to protect the values of the game, and you've got to make sure that the authenticity doesn't come into play. But everybody really doesn't believe that the only people that really believe it was effective was the coaching staff that did it. But anyway, do I think he's going to get banned for 12 months? I doubt it.
But you doubted that they'd get chucked out the playoffs.
I did.
And you were surprised, as I was, about how hard line the EFL stance was.
Well, it wasn't the EFL, was it? It was the Independent Commission.
It was the Independent Commission. So here we are again.
Albeit the EFL represented themselves in the Independent Commission.
Right. And he still doesn't know his real fate.
Well, he knows that his employer wants him. And so he knows that his employer will defend him in any kind of arbitrary position or process that details that he can no longer work. And they'll have to have some significant reasoning behind it beyond just the fact there was precedent set in FIFA and legal grounds to do it. And given they've got a precedent themselves, albeit it's 5 or 6 years old, with Bielsa, that the FA looking at the circumstance know that the club has been massively sanctioned.
Yeah, they know expelled from the playoff final.
I mean, so when Leeds...
So have they been punished enough?
Well, this is the point. So when Leeds were sanctioned and they were given a slap on the wrist with 200 grand, the FA stepped in and did their wonderful bit of finger wagging by saying, we're going to tell you off and we mean it. Right? So what they're going to do now, they're going to compound the issue, potentially, the FA. You wouldn't put anything past them because it is a clown college, I can assure you. But you look at it and go, the EFL have cleaned house. They have taken Southampton out and they've given them, meted out the most significant punishment you could possibly. So why would they then need to go after the manager? I mean, Southampton would be able to evidence that they would have taken disciplinary action against the manager. They would have sanctioned the manager themselves. They've decided not to remove him from his employment. And so it's not the FA's job to do it for them.
No, I mean, there is an argument they've been hit enough. I think they've suffered a points deduction, haven't they? I think they've been hit with a 4-point deduction as well.
So they've got kicked out of the playoffs. They've got a 4-point sanction. Southampton have chosen to stay with their manager.
Yeah.
It's not the FA's job to take that employment criteria away from them.
Yeah. And incidentally, and just in the passing, would you have taken the same line as Dragan Solai, who I know, and he's a very fair man, he's a tough guy. Would you have done the same and keep your manager in place?
Probably. Because what is the purpose? I mean, first of all, I would evaluate how important this spying was. Because, I mean, there is a school of thought that says that people in Middlesbrough, when they first found out about this, burst out laughing. And then when they found out the opportunity to actually challenge the legitimacy of a playoff final position, took it more seriously. Make of that what you will. And, of course, I also know that Steve said to me that he would have fired his manager if he'd done that. That's Steve Gibson's position. Once they'd been sanctioned, Southampton, and they believe in their manager, and if they've given him a smacking themselves, which I'd imagine they would have done, what is the purpose of hurting yourself twice?
Yeah. Well, that's where we're at the moment. Tonda Eckert, still in place, but could still face a range of sanctions by the FA, including a 12-month suspension from all
He's got to
football
win, this kid now.
activity.
This kid's got to win now, because if he doesn't win,
Yeah.
as soon as the fans will have their own view on it. But if the Southampton would start the season poorly, he won't be there long.
Well, they begin their season, as I say, away to Watford on August the 16th, but will Eckert be in charge of them at that stage? We shall see. Coming up to 2:30.
Okay, you want to talk about Messi? Genuine question. Does Messi get in our team?
What do you mean?
Would you swap Bellingham for Messi?
But he's not playing there.
Okay, would you swap Kane for Messi?
He's not playing there.
Okay,
He's a right winger.
Okay, he might get in that position. You wouldn't swap. You wouldn't swap Bellingham, would you? You wouldn't swap Bellingham for me. If I offered you the option now, Messi in, Bellingham.
Okay, yeah, but you'd move him around, wouldn't you?
No, but if you just give you that a trade, you give them Bellingham, we get Messi. Would you do it? Nah. Would you? You unpatriotic swine.
I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. But you're asking.
Would you swap Kane for Messi? If that was on offer now, just for this game.
A one-off game.
This game.
A one-off game.
This game on Wednesday night in Atlanta. I'll give you the opportunity to sub off Harry Kane from our starting lineup and bring in Lionel Messi. Do you do that? Absolutely not.
I think. Come on, mate.
Today,
come on.
Harry Kane is a better footballer than Messi today. I'm not saying legacy. Lionel Messi is the greatest.
Lionel Messi is the leading goal scorer.
Lionel Messi is the greatest footballer to have ever lived. No doubt.
He is the leading goal scorer in this World Cup.
In his peak, no doubt.
I know, but
Kane is better than him today, isn't he?
I don't think you can say that.
There is a wane to Lionel.
I don't think
Messi, Lionel Messi. 08. If we're having this conversation, we're having this conversation. 09 when he destroyed Man United in Rome.
Play in this World Cup?
Yeah, I thought he was exceptional. I thought he was exceptional.
Did you watch Harry Kane against Norway? He didn't have his greatest game, did he?
No, he didn't. No, he
He's
didn't.
dead on his feet. Come on.
Look at his goals against Congo.
I know, but look at Messi's goals in the tournament.
Okay, I'll give you the option now.
All right,
cards on the table.
All right, go on.
Would you rather have Harry Kane in your starting lineup on Wednesday night or Lionel Messi?
I'm not answering that question because it's
Would you rather?
I'm not answering that question.
Okay, would you rather have Jude Bellingham or Lionel Messi? I can't believe it.
Oh, I just don't like. I can't answer that question.
Iconic. There's no other word. An 18-carat gold trophy that owns the world, and it waits. It waits for 4 years. It's 1971, and FIFA need a new trophy to replace the Jules Rimet. So they launch a worldwide design competition. And in his studio in Milan, 50-year-old sculptor Silvio Gazzaniga immediately gets to work. But instead of sending FIFA a picture, he goes further and makes a prototype they can hold. It works. FIFA choose his design over 52 others, and perhaps the most beautiful piece of silverware or goldenware enters the beautiful game. Let's let the artist himself describe it. Gazzaniga said the idea was to create something symbolising exertion, dynamism, and the jubilation of an athlete in the moment of victory, with all the joy that contains. The malachite rings in the base fitted the sculpture well because it's green like a football field, and it's also a precious stone. The first captain to lift the trophy was Franz Beckenbauer in 1974, and of course, it's only the greatest who get their hands on it. Zoff, Matthias paved the way for the modern-day heroes who dreamt of lifting Gazzaniga's masterpiece. But there was something about this man holding it that seemed to deliver everything the sculptor had imagined. Were I to ever redo it, the artist once said, I wouldn't change a thing.
It is indeed. It is Wednesday afternoon. It's just gone 2:30. It's Jim White and Simon Jordan live on talkSPORT in partnership with Toolstation. Spend £50 with Toolstation Club to score a reward stamp for a chance to win a holiday worth £10,000. If England get to a World Cup final tonight, that will be viewed in the eyes of many England fans as something quite priceless. Then they want them to go on and win the thing. This man wants England to win it. Of course he is, because his mum and dad are from Cyprus, I think. But he was born in England and he's an England fan. He is the chief exec of Nostrada AI and he is Leon Imerali.
Hiya, Jim. How you doing?
Good, mate. And you're a fan of the show and a fan of the man beside you.
Of course, very much so. Yeah, very much so.
Good. Leon, great having you in studio. Here is a reason that Leon is in here, though. Not just because he's an England fan. Whilst he was at university, Leon started 2 companies with PR and social media before working as a chief of staff in the government. But he's now chief exec of Nostrada AI, and that simulates high-level negotiations to support negotiating teams. It was originally used by governments and diplomats, but the company now operates in the football industry to simulate transfer negotiations, both club to club and club to player. Now, of course, I used to be right at the heart, as Simon has reminded me, and didn't like particularly the time of transfer deadline day. How did this come about, Nostrada AI, and why, Leon, can it be useful for the football industry in general?
Yeah, well, look, I was working in Westminster during the Brexit years, and negotiations were the most important part of the political agenda at that time, negotiating with the EU, of course. And we thought, wouldn't it be great if we can get inside the minds of these Europeans that we're negotiating with? And that sort of gave me the idea that we can now create digital twins, digital clones of people you're negotiating with. So it's been used in government, diplomatic usage, and we thought, well, football is a logical next step when you're dealing with these, huge £100 million plus transfers. It makes sense that we simulate those transfers and try and get the best possible deal for the club.
Wow. So can you give me a real-time example of how you'd use it?
Yeah, so, if you're Spurs and you're negotiating for Sandro Tonali and you're thinking, right, how much can we pay here? I'm not saying this did happen. I'm using this as a hypothetical.
Right.
But, you're going to then look at how you structure that deal. So you're thinking, well, would Newcastle want to go for a deal that has a lot of add-ons? Would they want installments over 4 or 2, whatever it might be? You then put that into the simulator and it will create a digital twin of Newcastle. So you can say, right, they're under pressure to sell because of their financial position, because of what's happened. You then create a behavioural twin of the person you are negotiating with on the other side of the table. What's their negotiating style? You then look at the agents, their past 5 deals, their past 5 contracts. Have they been above market value, below market value? And it just gives you insights before you then go into that room to negotiate with them, to actually have the conversations to get a transfer over the line. So it's all about preparation in advance of those talks.
So, Leon, can technology really make you a better negotiator?
I think so. At the end of the day, negotiations are human. So you're always going to have that human touch. You're always going to have existing relationships that might exist between different sporting directors or different club owners and chairmen or whoever's negotiating that particular deal. But if you can go into that meeting with a sense of where their red lines are, what they're going to say no to or what they're going to say yes to, what might bristle them or whatever, that just gives you a one-up. And I think football is such a data-driven sport right now. You can agree or disagree. I'm sure Simon's got some views on things like XG and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But it's actually using that data to then take into the boardroom as well on the negotiation side, which I think is really valuable.
So come on, Simon. I mean, you did plenty of deals in your time at Crystal Palace. What'd you make to this?
Well, I think anything that provides you with information, I think negotiating deals is something you can either do or you can't do. But if you can add value into the equation by understanding the premise of who you're negotiating with, the quantums of deals they've done previously, if you can look at the background of players and understand players of certain positions that are being paid at certain levels in certain other football clubs, you provide yourself with an information tool that puts you into a situation where you can discuss with the alternate side, knowing certain parameters of what you're negotiating with. So, for example, if you're looking at Newcastle, say, for example, Newcastle is the case in point because you mentioned Tonali, and you know that Newcastle have got PSR issues. You know that Newcastle's last 5 or 6 deals have been stage payments, so they'll take a stage payment deal. You might be able to get a discount if you pay them up front. All of this stuff can be built into a model that throws out an outcome that then you can then use. You're still going to end up doing a horse trade one way or t'other, but if you use the information, I mean, this book that I'm writing, I'm using ChatGPT for a whole raft of things because it really does provide me with an interrogative set of thinking.
So you're not writing it yourself?
No, but I'm testing my theories out on scenarios inside the marketplace to understand why I'm thinking this way and then evaluating it against empirical data. And if you're bringing that sort of stuff into transactional circumstances like transfer deals, how can it be disadvantageous? At the end of the day, you're still going to find yourself in a situation where emotivity, commerciality, needs must come to play, and people don't blink sometimes in the way that AI might, or may suggest that it might, but there cannot be any disadvantage to using technology in any walk of life, only for people that potentially going to be run out of jobs because technology can overtake, but it cannot be a bad thing to use it to be able to imbue yourself with more knowledge in an industry that has only just recently matured. When you talk about buying a house, no one dreams of buying a house without doing a survey on it. People have bought footballers for time and immemorial without even looking at them. You know, I was talking to Chelsea about the reasons why they bought Garnacho, and there was a sort of shrug of the shoulders. Spoke a couple of times over Zoom. It's a £50 million footballer.
Yeah.
You survey a house, you should be making sure that when you buy a footballer, you do all of the diligence. And all of a sudden, Matthew Benham and Tony look like revolutionaries.
Yeah.
Because they're doing things properly. So this, to me, doesn't take away from the commerciality of an individual being very good at doing deals. It adds to the intelligence behind how he can press the advantage or understand the landscape that he's dealing in.
Right. So I always pick up on what he says, Leon. What are the limitations of AI in this space?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's AI. So as Simon says, when he's writing his book and he's researching it, you want to take it with a pinch of salt in that it only knows as much as it knows, and you've got to realise that there are limitations to it. But if you can use it as a tool to negotiate, to rehearse, to simulate, that can only be a good thing because you're not necessarily going to go in thinking this might happen or this might not happen. You're going to have a sense of how it could play out in advance.
It's good information. I mean, there's a lot of AI slop around, right? And still, I think expertise is going to be a massive component part of how AI doesn't disadvantage as many people as people think it would do. I mean, the copywriting industry might find itself in a difficult situation, but notwithstanding that, expertise is still something that will rise above AI because AI has got a long way to go in terms of the slop that it throws out. But in this thing, in terms of information, I don't see it being disadvantageous because it's going to pull up. The only thing about the football industry is how much of it finds itself in the public domain. The one thing I'd be interested to evaluate if I'm buying a player, more to the point of being able to do a commercial deal with a football club, is looking at his wages and being able to benchmark it across players of that position, because you're going to be sat in there with some snotty little agent telling you that his player should be getting XYZ because XYZ is the market price.
Can it help in a situation like that?
Well, so we've been approached by agents to actually use it on their part, and we've said no because that isn't what it's built for. It's built for supporting the clubs with those negotiations. I don't want to get into that game with agents.
What did the agents want you to do? To
effectively use that to simulate their negotiations with the club. So for their contract for their player, and we said we don't want to use it for that because that isn't what it was built for, and it's not the game we want to be in. But there is a lot of data about football that is available out there. Some of it is a little bit sketchy in terms of accuracy, but we've got a team of analysts that create these data sets that look at transfer fees, look at wages, look at whatever it is, behavioural insights about a certain individual, a certain club, put it all together and you get quite a complete picture.
How's the industry? How have you been received with this thinking inside the industry?
So, some clubs, Simon, have really gone for it and really been sort of receptive to it and are using it. Those who you would imagine are, and there are some who are very sceptical of it and say, look, negotiations are human to human. I don't think technology has a part to play in it, which I think those are the clubs that are ultimately going to fall down. I'm sure when analytics first crept into the game on the playing side, there were some clubs that were slower to pick that up, and now everyone's doing it. And I think this is going to be the same thing, where we have these huge technologies available to us with massive potential. It just makes sense that someone would deploy that.
You would use it, wouldn't you? If you were at the top of the house at Palace today,
I would certainly avail myself of what it did, and then work out whether it was useful or not.
Yeah.
Obviously, we are now in an age where the sophistication of thinking, the scale is significantly greater, and I don't think you can have an overindulgence of good information. As I've said, momentarily, you have to be careful with AI because it throws out what it knows, and it's got a long way to go before it knows everything that you would think you can rely on in terms of information coming out of it.
Yeah.
But I look at it and think about some of these companies that are doing the sporting director degrees that will perhaps incorporate this in their thinking as part of their syllabus, which is probably an area of direction of travel for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, you look at some clubs. Spurs have got Rafi Merson. Everton have got a guy called Nick Hammond. These are individuals
with their contracts.
Their jobs are primarily to negotiate, to actually do the negotiation. So we are seeing a trend in football moving towards corporate commercial negotiation being a key part. And why shouldn't it be? Because these are big deals. In the corporate world, in the commercial world, you would want to do your due diligence around. You wouldn't do it on a whim. And this is trying to make it a bit more foolproof so that if you are making a big investment, you feel more confident in doing so.
I mean, so many people listening, I would have thought, might be a bit like me and know next to nothing about this. You've gone on to me about AI for a while now, Simon. What else do you think, Leon, this could lead to? I mean, what's the next evolution? What's the next turn of the wheel regarding AI in football, for example?
Yeah, I think it's massive. I think there's a huge amount of potential. Google are doing a lot of work on AI in football. So they're looking at patterns of play, for example. So you can say, look at a certain team that you're going to play at the weekend, and you can say this is how they might build up and how they might set up, how they might get close to the goal and therefore score. So the amount of data that is available is just so rich for AI, because AI is only as good as the data it's trained on. That's why our company works well in politics, because there's also loads of data on what politicians say, what they might do, what they might not do. Football, even more so, So you've got huge amounts of data that you can plug into an AI system, machine learning system, and it can spit out all sorts in terms of opposition analytics, in terms of scouting.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're on the more sort of corporate negotiation side, but I think that football is a great testing ground for AI, and I think actually could be pushing the innovation that we'll then all see in our everyday lives.
How far might it go? Maybe not in my lifetime. I mean, Tuchel's going to be in the England technical area tonight. Might it be a computer many years from now?
You know what? I've seen reports of some football managers who use things like ChatGPT and Gemini and Claude or whatever to actually give advice on how to set their team up. I don't know if that's happening at the highest levels of football, but certainly happening at lower levels. And I don't think we're far off, machines being able to make footballing decisions better than humans can. The great thing about football, the reason why we all love football, is that it is human, it is unpredictable. That's always going to be the case because you are dealing with humans. But ultimately, the ability to predict how things might play out gives you that upper hand, gives you that edge. And I think we're in a sport where every percentage matters.
Right.
It's going to
and without emotion.
Correct.
But you'll also,
and that's key.
Yeah, you can't take emotion out of AI. If you're negotiating with someone that you don't like, for example, I'm sure Simon's been there. If you're negotiating with someone you simply do not like or you do like, that's going to have an impact on the way in which you do a deal with them. So, we aren't saying it's just about data, it's just about metrics.
Yeah.
It is still going to be that human component. Same with a football player.
Yeah.
If Declan Rice has had a Barney with his missus before going out to play, that's going to impact the way that he plays football. And that's natural. So you can't take that away, but you can just be able to look at the baseline of data, and that gives you an upper hand.
Do you think we'll ever get to the stage that the human element will be taken out of transfer negotiations altogether, and it'll be AI talking to AI?
It's
and negotiate.
I think we're nearly there already. Where you look at, as Simon says, with benchmarking. Agents will go in and say, "This is how we benchmark against other players, so therefore that's what my player is worth." We're seeing that already, and it's just humans are the interface really for the data that they've got from systems like ours, but also others. So I don't think we're a million miles off of things being automated to that degree. I don't think it's going to become robots playing robots, because no one wants to watch that. I don't think. You still need that human emotional connection, but AI can help make it better.
Isn't it?
You'll see AI interface with VAR significantly greater, so that the administration of the game becomes more effective, so that the actual spontaneity of the game is not affected by VAR.
Yeah.
You'll see it move into the medical side of the game, where you're starting to look at the way players are built, and you can predict trends of what players look like, what their hamstrings should do, what their quads should do, what their different parts of their body do, and you'll be able to forecast the likely outcome of a player being purchased and the likely breakdown of injuries and so on and so forth. So all of that will become part and parcel of the available information that football owners and sporting directors and people in positions of authority will be able to fall back on to be able to make more informed decisions.
Agents will get their hands on something soon, won't they, Liam?
Well, maybe. I can imagine there'll be some sort of interface. But you still need, when I worked in politics, the old saying was advisors advise, ministers decide. And it's the same here. You still need a human to make that decision. And that's what's going to make a good manager, or a good owner, a good sporting director. But the AI can advise to a certain point that I think is going to be very valuable.
And in a word, Leon, as chief exec of Nostrada AI, who wins tonight?
Well, I haven't run this through AI, Jim, to find out.
Have you asked AI?
I haven't actually, no. But my human take is I think England are going to win. I think it's actually going to be more comfortable than some of us think. I don't think Argentina are that good. Obviously, they've got one player who is particularly good. We've got Jude Bellingham. We've got Harry Kane. I think it's going to be an England victory.
Well, great. Thank you so much, Leon Emirali, who is chief exec of Nostrada AI. Remember it, it's around for years. So are we. Well, maybe not. Coming up to 10 to 3 this Wednesday afternoon.
I was convinced by the hype train of France and Spain, as you've said, sorry to steal it from you, have suffocated them for 9 minutes.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. And look, I don't think you need to either apologise or acknowledge that you got it wrong. I am the very definition of a broken clock being right twice a day. I thought Spain were going to win. I know how brilliant they are, and it's that control that they put into a game. It's that control. They don't let you breathe. They don't allow you any sort of momentum, and you can't get the ball off them. Like, if you think about England, like the reason why I was so convinced Spain were going to win is because I was looking at this final and I was looking at it perhaps prematurely through the lens of who I want England to play.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, who are England more likely to beat? And I was convinced that we're more likely to beat France. I'd kind of concede that we'd be underdogs against Spain or France. But I think our game would be more suited to beating France.
See, I disagree. I'd have rather played Spain, and maybe I've been hoodwinked by the fact that they drew against Cape Verde in the opening game. That they had Saudi Arabia, they're obviously going to beat them. They beat 10-man Uruguay 1-0. Uruguay stunk the place out. Marcelo Bielsa's destroyed and ruined his legacy.
Do you not just go back immediately to what happened in Berlin? When they were just too good for us.
Because I look at it and I think, this is the FA. I bet the FA are rubbing their hands at the prospect of potentially, we're not jinxing it, potentially playing Spain in a final, because it would vindicate their decision to hire Thomas Tuchel. There was lots of controversy about having a German in the seat, and I think he's got what it takes. He's got what Southgate didn't. Southgate's done amazing things. I believe we're standing on the shoulders of a giant in Southgate, what he did for England. But I think Tuchel's got the tactical nous and that edge and that aggression and that fight to get one over someone like Spain, whereas I thought France were going to be too much. But maybe I'm wrong.
Get ready to get that winning feeling with talkSPORT Win. This summer, talkSPORT is bringing you live and official coverage of every game of the FIFA World Cup 2026. And to celebrate, we're giving away £26,000 guaranteed. Go to win.talksport.com to enter now, and you could win 26 grand in your hand, tax-free. Enter now, and you could be the next to get that winning feeling, courtesy of talkSPORT Win. Find out how to enter now at win.talksport.com.
the second World Cup semi-final, England-Argentina tonight. And of course, it's live on talkSPORT. Simon, the final itself in New Jersey, you and I were there at the MetLife. Kickoff 8 o'clock UK time on Sunday night. But here's the thing, that's not the whole story. The halftime break on Sunday night is expected to be about 30 minutes long to accommodate a Super Bowl-style show, despite the maximum time of 15 minutes permitted under the laws of the game. So the breakdown is ITV and BBC plan to show the full 11-minute halftime show, and broadcasters believe there's going to be time for match analysis on either side of the performances while the stage is constructed and taken down. FIFA has declined to confirm the total expected length of the break at the final on Sunday. Madonna, Justin Bieber, Shakira, I don't know who Shakira is, Burna Boy, Shakira plays for Switzerland, doesn't he? Burna Boy, Gustavo Dudamel, yeah, I'm in deep water now. PS22 chorus featuring Coldplay due to perform at the Super Bowl style halftime show. Is this just another chapter in the Disneyfication of football, or is it plain wrong in your eyes?
Well, it depends what the impact of it is. Besides the offended parties that think that football has traditions that need to be upheld, when it was a 10-minute half-time, it's gone to 15 minutes. Now, the commercialisation of the sport is the reality. The owners of football clubs will take the football clubs in whichever direction they want to take them in going forward, in my view. If they can play football on the moon, it's worth something doing, that's what they'll do. Now, in this instance, the main component is, does it affect the players? What does it do to players? If it doesn't affect players, if coaches and managers are not uncomfortable with half-an-hour breaks, then you'll find it in football, I think. If they are uncomfortable with that and it leads to greater levels of injury because players have cooled down, and then subsequently go out and find themselves stretching hamstrings and all kinds of things, then that might be one reason why it becomes something that doesn't get adopted. In the interests of a World Cup final, how offended am I that I've got to wait an extra maybe 10 minutes for a half? Not hugely. I'm not affronted by any of it, really, in terms of the breaks. I understand the arguments. I understand why people get up on their high horse about it. But in the great scheme of things, I don't think it really affects that much. The premise of this one, if this was a halftime in any other part of the world and they decided to do this, it probably wouldn't receive the same sort of focus. It's because it's America, because America supersizes me on everything, albeit there'd still be a group of people that were affronted by it.
The Americans have turned it into NFL, haven't they? Instead of 2 halves and a halftime break, we've got 4 quarters, really. And a half hour.
FIFA, haven't they?
A half hour halftime show.
FIFA have. No, this is FIFA. We can make it about the Americans if we want to, or we can look at the people that are supposed to guard.
They're doing it on US soil. There's a reason for it.
Sure, but notwithstanding it, it's still so. What? So then, if Americans decided the game was 80 minutes rather than 90, they'd do that too, would they? No, this is FIFA have allowed this. FIFA have sanctioned this. FIFA are going to get some of the spoils as a result of some of the advertising dollars are going to be made available to them, I suspect. So it's all about FIFA upholding the values of the game, and if there is no reason besides tradition and patience that a half-time break cannot be half an hour, then we might have to get our head around it and how that works in the commercialisation of football, because it's not going to stop being commercialised. It's going to be increased in its commercialisation because nothing's going to stop wages. We've seen nothing stopping the wages, nothing stopping transfer fees. Ownership models now are only stopped to some extent by PSR, and that creates its own set of challenges because it's unfair on other teams. And so whilst I was all in the camp of controlling the game's finances, it now just provides for the haves, and the have-nots can go to hell in the handcart.
Yeah.
So with this in mind, I look at this and say, I get the argument of it's NFL. The NFL is the most successful sporting franchise in the world. Is that a terrible commodity then?
No. Yeah, I suppose it was only a matter of time. And at this World Cup, on US soil,
everything
it was
FIFA.
Probably to be expected.
Blame everything on FIFA. Let's not allow FIFA to wriggle out from underneath anything. Every aspect of every stinking decision, from Trump phoning up Infantino to this sort of circumstances, lay it firmly at the door of the so-called guardians of the game.
Well, he did phone up Infantino, didn't he? and Balogun played. We'll hear from Balogun before we go today at 4 o'clock. We're coming up to 3 o'clock on Wednesday, July the 15th, the day England go into battle against Argentina tonight in the second of the two World Cup semi-finals. Stay with us.
Wow. Performance of the tournament. France absolutely didn't do anything.
Out with a
Had a
whimper.
nightmare performance. Yeah, whimper without no fight. But Spain, wow. That was watching Pep Guardiola's Barcelona, that was. The way they were popping that ball past France to death. France couldn't handle the passing style of Spain. They weren't pressing as a team. You saw a team there in Spain, and you saw France with superstars that all had a nightmare of a game. And very poor performance from France. I'm sure they're going to be getting a lot of stick. Luckily, we got Emmanuel Petit on at the end of the show, and he's going to be thinking to himself, didn't see that coming.
I couldn't stop thinking about Manu last night.
Yeah,
I thought, oh my! Even the show yesterday, I felt that we had such a build-up in favour of France. Have we completely underestimated Spain?
We've underestimated them, but rightly so, in the sense of their performances in this tournament. You know, they haven't performed to the level they did last night. Sometimes we talk at start of tournaments that it's not about how you start a tournament, it's how you end them. And Spain have proved that. Drawing 0-0 to Cape Verde, and some of their performances haven't been exciting. Even the win over Portugal wasn't their greatest performance.
Yeah.
But they've kept their best form for the semi-finals, so it's going to be a scary final, whoever plays Spain. Because the way Rodri and Fabian Ruiz controlled that game, Cucurella looked like the best left-back in the world last night. The way he kept Elise quiet, that was a shadow of Elise we've seen this whole tournament. Dembele, Mbappe, Barcola, Doué, they had nothing for an organised Spanish side.
Really, I was in shock.
Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of us just couldn't believe what and we shouldn't be, because it's Spain. They're the current European champions.
Talk Sport.
I'm Ben Fletcher. Good afternoon. 5 hours until kick-off, and Thomas Tuchel's told talkSPORT his relationship with Jude Bellingham is as close as ever. The England boss has blamed Gabriel Clark for selectively feeding Bellingham criticism while leaving out praise post-Norway. But broadcasting royalty Jim Rosenthal has defended the ITV presenter here on talkSPORT.
Straight after the interviews, I sent Gabriel a text, and I said, a masterclass in the art of post-match interviewing. And I would stand by that now. Gabriel's not a sensationalist. He's not out for headlines. He will look you in the eye and ask a straight question.
The best Jim in broadcasting, if you ask me. Anyway, Declan Rice and Reece James are ready to start tonight. Argentina's players are watching clips of Maradona to get themselves up for it, while the country's vice president has brought up the Falklands in a post on X, in which she calls England usurping pirates. A man who faced off against Argentina back at France 98 says England need to keep calm and rise above the dark arts tonight.
I always think you've got to keep it below your ribcage. It's like nerves. If the nerves go above your ribcage, you're in trouble. And the same with tension when you're playing. And you saw France, Mbappe on the goalkeeper yesterday, right towards the end of the game, just lost his control. And Argentina are very good at winding people up.
Graham Lasso there. England-Argentina is live on talkSPORT tonight. The build-up gets underway at 6:30. Should England reach Sunday's final, there's talk the last round of the Open could start earlier to avoid an overlap. The final putt scheduled for 6:40 p.m. The RNA feel there is enough time to wrap things up as things stand, but the situation remains under review. Elsewhere, Haiti have parted company with their head coach, Sébastien Mignet, and Sunderland have confirmed the arrival of Belgian right-back Thomas Meunier. The 34-year-old has signed a 2-year deal. Plenty more at talksport.com.
talkSPORT. News.
A man's been arrested for threatening to kill Nigel Farage, and we're going to be told to stockpile food, water and medicine in case of a Russian cyber attack. More from Sinead at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. This summer, treat yourself to Bridgestone Turanza All-Season 6 tyres with a 25,000 mileage guarantee. Book today at quickfit.com. Conditions apply.
Low cloud along the eastern coast this afternoon. Fine dry elsewhere with plenty of hot sunshine. The odd thundery shower in the southwest.
Where should we begin?
The 1986 World Cup was filled with memorable moments.
Here's Maradona again. You have to say that's magnificent. There is no debate about that goal.
It was basically his World Cup, so I remember all that.
And an extraordinary World Cup evening has now got an added layer to it. It's a red card for David Beckham.
And yet, within 18 months, he'd fought his way back, he'd shown what he could do with Manchester United, with England, and was England captain.
David Beckham puts England in front against Argentina in Sapporo.
I have belief. We all have belief. We all have a dream.
England lead. It is Jude Bellingham again. Coming in the shot, Messi. It is in. It is 2-2.
We are here to beat him and to beat his team. So it's a big ask, but we're up for it.
Kane on the turn. We have hero moments, and for me, it was today. We'll get everything we've got. This has the makings of being an all-time World Cup classic.
Well, it's true, isn't it? This is huge. England, Argentina. Coverage begins on talkSPORT from 6:30. World Cup game day with Adrian Durham. Commentary from 8 o'clock. Jim Proudfoot and Stuart Pearce. The winner. The spoils are huge, aren't they? A place in Sunday's final. The World Cup, it's right down to this. But what about Argentina? What are England taking on tonight? And everything else that goes with this opponent. Let's head to Atlanta now. And I'm delighted to say we're joined by award-winning Argentine sports writer, Marcela Mora y Arroyo. Marcela, good afternoon from us here. I hope I've got the pronunciation of your name correct. Did I get it remotely close?
So it's Marcella, because I'm not Italian, but it's okay.
Marcella, great to have you with us. Tell me, and we're going to speak from an Argentinian perspective, is this more than just a football match?
Well, I think I like the idea that it's a football match, a game. But the question is, what is a football match? Because a football match is the game itself and all the emotional responses it sort of, entices with everything that happens. So it's always got to do with your memory of the last time, your dad, your visits to the stadium, your children, grandchildren, the cultural references it evokes. So it can be just a football game, and also for that very reason, the range of emotional responses it's going to provoke in each and every one of us is enormous. And this clash, which is really the most box office we've had this tournament, there hasn't been a rivalry like this, which is actually also so football based. Because you have countries that have been at war or whatever, but this is all of them combined. It really has got everybody on the edge of their seats. I mean, I quoted Valdano saying it's the one fixture where the Mexican wave doesn't stand a chance because these fans are too serious about it. Football matters too much to us both.
Yes. I mean, England, Argentina, in an historical context, where does this fixture sit then in 2026?
Well, I think we won't know until it's happened. But the point about them, I found a piece of writing by my dad from the remembering the 1950s, which was the first time an Argentina team visited Wembley. And my dad was at primary school, and the headmaster made everyone walk into this cold playground to listen to the game broadcast on the radio. And the Argentinian goalkeeper, Ruggiero, did so well that he became known as the Lion of Wembley, and still is to this day. You know, people talk about the Lion of Wembley. It was a non-competitive game, but it marked something. And it marked it after the event, when the guy had a nickname and things had happened. 66, similarly, it was a slightly weird moment on the pitch. Argentina had a military coup took place in 1966, and the FA directors were renamed by the Onganía, the sort of new incoming president. And a new team suddenly arrived in England and said, oh, we run football now, do this, do that. That was all forgotten, because after the Ratin incident, the game itself changed. You know, we had red cards and yellow cards. We had universal automatic things that meant something. And Ratin died last week, and the red card might die this World Cup. So I think after things happen, we know. Yeah. And likewise with Beckham, you know, after the 98 game, there were effigies of Beckham being sold around football English stadiums during the season, and by the next World Cup he was a hero, and by this one Beckham is, you know, Messi's partner, a real influential guy in soccer, a law, you know, knighted. Simeone stands with him. Simeone's son plays for Argentina, so I can't foresee what it'll be, but I know it will be something. And years from now, we'll go, oh, that time in Atlanta when, you know, whatever, the fourth quarter was abolished forever, or I don't know.
It's true, Simon. It throws up so many different aspects, that the very fixture in itself. Yeah. I want to put something to you, Marcelo. The Malvinas chants in the dressing room. I think this was after the Egypt game. They were posted by the Argentinian FA. Do you think that unnecessarily stokes up tension?
No, I don't, and I'll tell you why. And I do think it's not that obvious, perhaps, but the Malvinas issue in Argentina is still raw. It's still ongoing. We had this discussion with colleagues last night where they said that Malvinas was not just that conflict. It's an open situation. And I think the 86 players were contemporary with a lot of the combatants. And unlike England or Britain in the case of unarmed conflict, the soldiers were conscripted teenagers from the poorer backgrounds, and they hadn't chosen to be soldiers. So the sort of empathy between the players and the combatants and certainly the fallen ones. I mean, I've been to the Falklands and the cemetery with the sort of graves of here lies someone known unto God. It's quite chilling. War is chilling. But what the song refers to, and it's not a song the players invented, it's a song that's just kicked off like football chants do. But the line is, we're going to win this for the cup that was robbed to Diego, and that means by 1994 officials when he got kicked out, and the fallen of the Falklands. So I don't think to honour the fallen of is an aggression towards anyone, if anything. And I think the players have slightly tried to explain this, but I'm not sure they've got either the time or the tools to rant on the way I have, and I apologise, but I do think it's delicate and worth mentioning. So I don't think it's a horrible taunt to the English. I think it's a sense that part of the history is about that as well, and it is. Unlike the vice president's social media post, which is stupidly provocative and is the line of the far right, which is it's a separate thing to honouring the dead soldiers.
I understand that, and I understand what Marcella's saying, Simon. They're singing about it to honour those who lost their lives. In the Falklands conflict. I hear that, but obviously they lost their lives as a result of a war with the English. So it will have some poignancy to the Argentinians, and it will have some degree of resonance with the English as a pushback against what the English did to the Argentinians. I think it's a fascinating description and a brilliant description of how the game has changed and how all the different component parts
With she just gave an example of Beckham playing in '98 and now being in a hero in 2002, and in business, and Lionel Messi being a star player for the team that he owns, and that is the rich tapestry of football. So I think that was a brilliant.
That's right,
description,
Marcella. How are Argentina viewing England in this World Cup?
Well, I have to say, at the press conference, Tuchel's press conference yesterday, we were all really enamoured by him because he had that lovely little speech about Messi, which was so moving and such a good description. I think the Jude Bellingham's very, very highly regarded football-wise, as is Harry Kane. The cultural connection between both countries is such that Oasis is huge in Argentina, so they love the Wonderwall sing-alongs. The Beatles are the biggest influence in all of our lives. So there's so much respect and friendship as well as animosity. And I think one of the things that I found particularly delightful this World Cup is after the matches when the teammates who have just clashed, pay homage to that friendship. So many players play in England in the Premier League, and so many of the Argentinians do and have done. I'm really hoping that some of the commonality and the friendship can sort of trump the armed conflict that was indeed between us. So of course it is, there, but it's we can survive. The human spirit can survive all sorts of things, and if anybody has shown that, it's Messi, deciding to do something for a few minutes
of course.
and transform.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can with this too. Having said all of that, I really hope Argentina win. To paraphrase one of my very favourite English football icons, I would love it if we win. I would love it.
Well, I'm not surprised, being an award-winning Argentine sports writer. A final one from me. The motivation around this tonight. The players will motivate themselves, of course they will, in various ways. But do the Argentinian players seriously want to do this for Messi?
I think in 2022 it was so clear that everybody wanted it for Messi. I mean, even the French players by the end of the tournament. But now I think Messi wants to keep playing, and a colleague of mine said the other day he plays to keep playing. He's not playing to win. He's kind of earning his next minute of game and I think the players would like that very much. And I don't really know. This is totally me putting it on them, but I'm sure they're aware that without Messi, that they're a lesser team by some distance. So, but I think that, they will play 8 games now. That's what you can aspire to. But yeah, the third and fourth place is not one that you really sort of want to break a sweat for. But yes, they don't need the cup. England do need to prove something. So that's interesting as well,
Excellent. Marcella, brilliant. I know you're in Atlanta and the game is fast approaching. Enjoy it, and thank you for being with us. Marcella Mora y Arroyo is an award-winning Argentine sports writer. And I think when it comes to research, she certainly knows what she's talking about, does she not?
Yeah, a very interesting dissection of how sport evolves into a variety of different things, and how all of a sudden people that were at one another's throats in one respect are very different in space, and a brilliant recitation of Beckham being a public enemy and then being a hero and now being a lord.
Yeah, exactly. I know how it swung round. We are coming up to 3:20 this Wednesday afternoon, live in talkSPORT.
Couldn't get anywhere near Spain, could they, in the midfield? Do you think that the manager should have made a change at half-time? Maybe Digne come off for Hernandez, and also maybe an extra midfielder come on for an attacker?
Well, the fact that Rabiot left at the halftime because he received straight away, yellow card. He was probably our best player on the pitch for the first 45 minutes. But anyway, you could have changed the entire team, against Spain in the halftime. It would have changed nothing. So I think we looked so nervous, so far away from our level. Tactically and technically, we were so poor. Credit to Spain. They really deserve to win. They play really well. I thought that we were different with what happened, 4 years ago, but it was kind of the same game, and they control everything. We had no inspiration, no creativity, no personality, and it was so sad to watch them because I had the feeling watching the game that it was kind of the same game against Morocco, but.
Do you know what was baffling me, Emmanuel, was whenever you won the ball back, just give the ball away cheaply. Everybody was. No shots on target.
We were so far away from each other,
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think tactically we lost the game, but technically as well, we were so poor, But we looked so nervous. So I still don't understand what happened yesterday. There's so many things that we're missing in that game, and that's why I think we should get over it and still work on it. And but Spain are still our worst enemy, actually, and it was a lesson of football yesterday, to be honest with you.
Hello, I'm Matt Forder from talkSPORT. This is How to Win the World Cup.
This is the best squad I think England have ever had.
He used to love America, now he doesn't. It's very sad.
It was so important to succeed because of all the pressure we received.
Don't jump for this one, I'm going to knock his head off.
Warning, this podcast does not guarantee England will actually win anything.
Well, now, as if the World Cup wasn't enough, the 154th Open Championship tees off at Royal Birkdale tomorrow morning, and you'll be able to hear live commentary on talkSPORT from 7 o'clock on talkSPORT 2. The easiest way to listen is to download the free talkSPORT app and swipe across to talkSPORT 2. But let's get into it now, because talkSPORT's golf correspondent Rupert Bell joins us live on the show. Rupert, good afternoon to you. The Open then, Rupert, where does it sit in the pantheon of great sporting events?
Well, I think it's right up there. I mean, it really is. It's a special week in the golfing world. It is the oldest of the golf championships. You know, we are privileged in this country to have, Wimbledon, which obviously finished last weekend, and the Open Championship. These are two global iconic sports events. And this week at Birkdale is testament to that. There's going to be the biggest ever attendance at an Open Championship. They're expecting 300,000 people through the gates over the entire week that the venue is open. So that just shows you the scale of where this event is heading. And you've got visitors from all over the world coming to see it. And obviously right now we're enjoying this glorious summer, and it's set fair for what is a truly, I think, going to be a supreme test for the 156 golfers, and particularly for the English golfers who've got to get up at 3:30 tomorrow morning if they're teeing off at 6:30. How much sleep many of them will have, I'm not so sure. Many of them actually might be having a little nap right now to wake up, go watch the game, and then go back to sleep for their early morning tea time tomorrow morning.
Of course, yeah. We mustn't forget about that World Cup semi-final. Who are the runners and riders then, as far as you're concerned? Who's key to this?
Well, I suppose you'd have to say the betting is suggesting it's the world's number 1 and 2, Scotty Scheffler, Rory McIlroy. It's never going to be that predictable. But if you look at the winners that have won at Birkdale since they first staged it in 1954, this is the 11th staging here of the Open Championship. It's a veritable who's who of some of the golfing greats. So expect it won't be probably a left field winner, I don't think.
Yeah.
So I would say McIlroy, if he can basically play 4 rounds without having a sort of suddenly 5 or 6 holes where he goes mentally AWOL. Scotty Scheffler's coming off the back of a miscut. So I think there will be expectation on the British Challenge. Matt Fitzpatrick, Justin Rose coming full circle since he played in 1998 as a teenager, age 17. He had that famous chip in. Hasn't won an Open Championship. Record's pretty ordinary. And then homeboy Tommy Fleetwood. I'm actually talking to you for Formby Hall, where he's a member, and his Tommy Fleetwood Academy is, and I was with a whole lot of children coming through doing the Tommy Fleetwood thing, as he did in 1998 as a 7-year-old. Members of his academy got to meet him. So they're making great efforts to try and encourage the young. But Tommy Fleetwood, I think, would be such a popular winner, not only as a local boy, but actually to win his first major at Birkdale would be an enormous sporting achievement.
Rupert, stay with me on this. I'll put it to Simon. We know, Simon, that Rory became the first European to win all 4 of golf's majors. But he was overlooked in last month's King's birthday honours, as was I, as was you, Simon. But in all seriousness, should it be Sir Rory McIlroy?
Well, I mean, I dislike this idea that we award current sports stars with investitures and gongs, and I think that the purpose of them many years ago has been corrupted and turned into something very different than it was originally envisaged. But by the standards of today's society, which is what he has to be judged in, then there's a big argument to suggest that. I mean, has he already got an investiture? Has he already got one of the gongs?
Well, the thing is, am I right on this, Rupert? He says he's no idea why he's been snubbed for a knighthood thus far. But that was after being omitted from the honours list following an intervention by tax officials. Where are you at with all that, Rupert?
Well, my view is, Sir Nick Faldo. We've got Sir Nick Faldo. He might be worthy of it in the end. I'm with Simon on this. When we won the Ashes in 2005, that whole team, including Paul Collingwood, who barely played a game, got a gong for their efforts. And I do think, we've got to be a bit careful. We don't just hand them out like confetti. They've got to mean something. Now, in time, if he's due to get a knighthood, then fully deserved. But I think it's something of nothing. Let him just get on playing golf and don't worry about whether he's going to become Sir Rory McIlroy, which I think he probably will be in time, because he's going to go down as our greatest ever golfer that we from Great Britain and Northern Ireland. So in time, it's a bit like my sport. I come from a horse racing background. Lester Piggott never got anything, but he did fall foul of the tax people. So he ended up spending some time at Her Majesty's pleasure. But, he never got knighted. But, many people say he should have done for what he had in the racing.
It's an interesting discussion point. It was put to Rory himself, Rupert. He was asked if it really did matter to him one way or t'other, how he'd be viewed in, say, 100 years from now. This was Rory.
I don't really care. I would like to think that the people that love and care about me think a certain way of me, but I'll be long gone. I'll be dead. I don't think I'll be seeing what people say about me. I'll be 6 feet under. I don't think I'll be a ghost. I don't think I'll be, I don't care.
He doesn't care.
I think that's a very good answer. And I think when we're talking about peerages, if someone as unpleasant as Nick Faldo can get a peerage, then I'm sure that Rory McIlroy can.
Rupert, it was a matter of time.
His Marmite is Sir Nick Faldo. But also Scottish Scheffler was asked the same question about his legacy. And again, he sort of gave it the sort of, well, I'll be dead and I don't, it won't matter to me. But I think what Rory, just as Tommy Fleetwood alluded to the fact when he was a young lad of 7, going to the Open at 98, he remembers looking up to the big golfing stars of the time. And it meant so much to him. And that's the way Rory can leave his legacy, in that he has found a way for people saying, I want to be a Rory. That's what it really matters in terms of legacy, not necessarily what is achieved. Is he the sort of person who inspires people to go out and play golf? Well, I would suggest he does exactly that. So he will have a legacy, but he's obviously so in the sporting bubble. It's about trying to win tournaments. And what his legacy will be, I think in 20 years' time, there may be someone who will be saying at a press conference like yesterday, well, I was inspired by Rory.
Okay, excellent. Rupert, looking forward to hearing your dulcet tones over the next few days. The 154th Open tees off at Birkdale tomorrow morning, and you'll be able to hear live commentary on talkSPORT 2 from 7. And the easiest way to listen is to download the free talkSPORT app and swipe across to talkSPORT 2. Mick McCarthy joined Simon and Piers, decided to take Piers Morgan on regarding an incident way back in 2009 when, as Wolves manager, he rested a number of players for a trip to Old Trafford.
I've always respected you hugely, genuinely, as a manager.
Except when I dropped 10 players at Wolverhampton.
Yeah, well, that was terrible.
You did say something that I was particularly unhappy about.
I thought it was shocking.
Yeah.
Yeah, go on. Well, what was your problem with what I said? You must have known I was right.
You're never right, mate. you just antagonise people with your comments, which you're doing on this show quite clearly. No. So when you said it, my job is to win games.
Yes.
We went to Spurs the Saturday before. We won 1-0 with about 35% possession. We've got Manchester United on the Tuesday. I went there and I dropped 10 players. I have a squad of 22. If I'm a manager, it's my right to manage that team how I see and get results.
And it's my right as an Arsenal fan who you were directly impacting with your cowardice
because you weren't good enough
you out on it.
Because you weren't good enough to win the title, and that Sir Alex won it again, and he won it. You weren't good enough, so you blame me, which is real bad on my part.
I know what Roy Keane's problem was.
No,
just to be clear, by dropping 10 players, you let United walk all over you, which had a direct impact on my team's chances of winning the league. I thought that was an appalling abrogation of your duty as a manager to entertain the fans with the best available team.
Clear you up. My duty was to beat Burnley on the Saturday, and we did.
Well, Mick hasn't forgotten, has he? That's for sure.
Oh, no, he went further than that. He said that Piers was a purveyor of the wrist action. Went into that sort of territory, which I was inclined to agree with.
So Jeff Hurst is a name that's synonymous with the World Cup, especially in England. That hat-trick at Wembley in 1966, the stuff of legend. But did you know the tables turned 4 years later when a dodgy goal decision cost him and England another shot at glory? After 66, Jeff Hurst is a household name. England's main striker, a goal every other game for his country, and even a spot singing on Top of the Pops. It looked a bit different, didn't it? But the 1970 World Cup wouldn't be a cakewalk. Hurst only scores 1 in 3 in the groups, and England finished second, meaning they get a tougher draw for the knockouts. And who's waiting for them in the quarter-finals? West Germany. It's a physical game, and as you can see, Hurst wasn't given much time on the ball. England go 2 up, but the Germans come back and we're going to extra time. Gerd Muller scores and seemingly puts Germany in the last 4. Just moments from time, though, Jeff Hurst has the ball in the back of the net. But the referees decided that when Francis Lee cuts in from the right, despite his cross clearly deflecting off a German boot, Hurst is offside, so he disallows it. After that decision went in England's favour 4 years earlier, suddenly they're on the receiving end of a controversial call. England had been one of the favourites, and Hurst never played at the World Cup again. If only we'd had VAR. Ugh, can't believe I just said that.
Football form roundup on talkSPORT with Sky Bet. The world's gone football. Get in on it with Sky Bet. 18 plus, gambleaware.org.
Yep, let's look at this with Sky Bet. Sky Bet spokesperson Michael Shinners joins us live on the show. Michael, good afternoon to you. Where do we start? Well, obviously, we're going to look at the semi-final, but let's look further ahead. Spain. Where are you at with them to win this World Cup, Michael?
Yeah, I mean, they've been second or third favourite throughout, Jim, but they were, I'm sure you'll have seen, very, very impressive last night. Our traders were certainly impressed. They're 4-6 to win the World Cup, and I think it's fair to say whoever they play, be it England or Argentina, they'll definitely go off favourite, for the final on Sunday.
And what about England tonight then?
Yeah, the favourites, Jim, but just about 13-8 England, 2-1 Argentina. Interestingly, the money's for the draw at 15-8. That's been particularly popular. I think people are expecting a long night. The draw has been backed into 15-8 with ourselves.
Right, and that's a draw over 90 minutes, right?
That's it, yeah, over 90 minutes. Any of the player markets, that includes extra time, but on the match itself, that's 90 minutes.
And do you have a super boost? I think you do regarding Bellingham, right?
Yeah, we certainly do. Jude Bellingham, he's had 11 shots on target in the 6 games that he's played, including extra time. So we're boosting him. He's even money with ourselves to have a shot on target tonight. We've got loads of specials, Jim, as you would expect, from VAR to overturn a goal that England score. I think that's someone being a bit naughty there at 72. Thomas Tuchel to come on the pitch after England have won the match and sing Wonderwall with the players also at 7-2. So if you fancy something a bit different, go on the website and have a look.
Brilliant, I like it. Michael, thank you. We'll speak tomorrow. That was all thanks to Sky Bet. 18 plus, gambleaware.org.
Football form roundup on talkSPORT with Sky Bet. Download the Sky Bet app and get in on it with Sky Bet. 18 plus, gambleaware.org.
Producer Luke is sending me a post, Simon. Liverpool Football Club. It's fairly innocuous. They've popped out a picture of Alexis McAllister. Macca and Argentina take on England for a place in the World Cup final, and they're getting hammered for this. He's pictured there. There it is. It's on my phone.
Yeah.
He's pictured there in a Liverpool shirt.
Yeah.
With England Argentina, 8 o'clock kickoff tonight, and it's really just to highlight the fact that he's a Liverpool player and he's playing for Argentina tonight. But it's not gone down at all well, I am hearing, with those on social media who are asking the question, why have you done that? I mean, there's not much in that, is there?
But I thought those in Liverpool didn't support the England team anyway.
Well, maybe that's what it's... Is it leaning into that, do you think?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I probably haven't thought it through.
Okay.
They've got one of their players representing a country in the World Cup and then not really thought it through, perhaps.
Okay. Not in this World Cup, but the one previous to it in Qatar. This gentleman worked with the FA at the last World Cup in Qatar. He was tasked with honing in, if you like, on Argentina. He did that, and Argentina eventually ran out winners. Amongst other things, he's worked for the England under-21s. He took over interim at one stage at Southampton. He's Simon Rusk, and he joins us live in the show. Simon, good afternoon to you. You studied Argentina in Qatar, and they won it. You've had a good look at them now. Where are you at in your assessment of Argentina?
Yeah, hi, Jim. Hi, Simon.
Hi, mate.
Yeah, I mean, look, firstly, the obvious thing is to say that there's no change in so much as anyone setting up to play against Argentina. It's a unique game in so much as they're playing against, one of, if not the greatest player to play football. So that hasn't changed in any way, shape or form, that they've got a player that, no matter how you set up, no matter what you try and do, he can spin a game in whatever result on its head in any given moment. So, that remains. I think it's really interesting that they've retained, a lot of the squad that have got the referential experience of winning the last World Cup, have arrived here again. So they've got that continuity. So, and more importantly, I think the one thing that, I took away from the last World Cup, that they were such a streetwise team. The manager probably, had an incredible ability to adapt quickly and think on his feet. And, the team reflected that. And we got to make sure that all of the things that, were important in the last challenge of the World Cup in terms of the quality and the key moments and the concentration, take care of themselves today as well.
Is this Argentinian team just as streetwise as the last one?
Yeah, that's very interesting. I think, the last one, they showed such a resilience from a defensive point of view, but had, retained lots of the qualities from an attacking point of view as well. So I think with this one in particular, I think the team Argentina this time have showed some real frailties from a defensive perspective. So without any shadow of a doubt, I think we can take advantage of that tonight. And, whether they're as streetwise, I think there's a doubt around that. But what remains a certainty is that they've got the quality to still hurt an opponent any time in the game.
I mean, Simon, Messi, to Simon Rusk, Messi is Messi, but is there a danger that we can become over-obsessed with the Messi factor here? Might England be falling into that trap?
Yeah, I guess you've got to strike that balance, haven't you? That remaining your own authenticity as a team and your own strengths. But, you can't stick your head in the sand about the fact that you are, that you are playing against a player that's probably come up against every strategy under the sun. He's played 1,000 games at the top of the game and more. Every type of strategy in terms of low blocks, man marking him, double up on him, he can come up with the answers. So you can't stick your head, you can't ignore that fact, and you do need to have an element of strategy around it. But, the game is the game, and, you still need to retain all of your strengths that you have as a team. And we have many strengths, and I think we've got to be really robust. I recall the Saudi game, the first game of the last World Cup where they lose, Argentina out of nowhere. Now, they might have run away with the game in that first half. But, I think what happened in the second half was Saudi got really aggressive, and they put it on them in a big way, and they didn't like it. So you've got to find that level of respect for who you're playing against, but you've got to get stuck into them as well. And we have got the ability to be robust and be physical, and we've got that in us this tournament. And I think we need to use that tonight in particular.
Simon, player for player, are England better?
I think that's a very complex question. I think what we do have, whether we're better player for player, I think what we have got, we've got an unbelievable centre forward. We've got a very, very strong, competent midfield. And we've got players that in any given moment can also, hurt any opponent in the world they're playing against. I think what's going to be key tonight from a defensive point of view are concentration levels. When you arrive at these stages in the tournament, and I saw this, in the last tournament in Qatar, that your concentration levels and defensive capabilities need to be absolutely spot on. And we're going to need that tonight. And if we get that right, what we do know is, we can score goals against this Argentina team for sure.
So this is a story of two Simons. Simon, with me here in studio, you're confident tonight, aren't you?
Yeah, because why wouldn't I be? That doesn't mean I'm complacent. I mean, you'll acknowledge the existence of Messi in a side because he's one of the world's greatest players. It doesn't mean you're consumed by it, because England will have strengths and they will have players that then the Argentinians need to be worried about. I mean, Tuchel's managed against Messi on a number of occasions. He's had various strategies to deal with him. He talks about it himself, about what they've done in previous incarnations when he was at PSG. So whilst that might not have been the best version of Messi playing for PSG, it was still somebody that was managed against. So, you know, they'll embrace it. But am I confident? Yes, because I think they have every right to be in a World Cup semi-final. And the Argentinians are not an all-encompassing Argentinian side. I couldn't care less whether Messi's, you know, the hero of anyone's story back in 2022. And I feel that we have an opportunity to win a World Cup semi-final, and Messi is somebody that we have to contend with in the same way the Argentines have to contend with Bellingham or Kane or Saka if Saka's fit.
All right, Simon, you hear this, Simon? What about you? Tell me, where are you at with it?
Yeah, I think I fully agree with what Simon's saying here. You know, this can't be about fear. I think we are, you know, one thing that, you know, you've got to be good to win something, and you've got to be, you know, the cream always has to rise. But I think you need that little bit of luck as well. So I think if we can, you know, turn up, play to our strengths, have a half an eye on the threat. We have to have half an eye on the threat. But look, we can absolutely win this game, and I think we can absolutely go on to win this World Cup. And hopefully we get through this game tonight, and we have enough quality and we have enough concentration at the key moments that we earn our bit of luck. And I think we do it.
Simon Rusk enjoyed that. Thank you very much indeed for joining us, Simon. In the meantime, you're listening to Jim White and Simon Jordan. And we're live in talkSPORT in partnership with Toolstation. Fast Track delivers to you from 30 Minute. First stop, Toolstation.
Do you think that you're more confident about tomorrow beating Argentina than you were against beating Croatia?
100%, yeah.
Why?
Because that was early on in that group of players with Gareth Southgate. It was early on, and Croatia had some side back then. You know, Croatia were probably favourites in that game. They were that good of a team. But I think when you go forward, 8 years, and you look at where we are now as a squad of players, the experience they've got in tournaments, how they've got to finals and semi-finals, I think this game we should win more than Croatia game. I've got honestly total faith. If I was gonna go to the final, I would have bought my tickets now. That's how confident I am that we beat Argentina.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's look at how they play. I look at their weaknesses. I look at how we can get in and around Messi. You know, we've got players that have played against Alvarez before in the Premier League when he was at Manchester City. We know their team of players, and I'm sure with this manager, how pumped he is, how maybe not negative, but how honest he was about how he didn't play good enough against Norway. Previous England managers after the game would have been like, I'm so proud of these players. It wasn't the best of performances, but whoopie-doo. Do you know what I mean? They'd be so positive, but he was negative in the right way. I'm like, come on, we're better than this. I didn't like the phases of play. I didn't like how certain players played. He's honest because he knows to beat Argentina, you've got to be better, play with the best football you played in the tournament. And then if you play France or Spain, you have to, everyone's got to be on it.
Mm-hmm.
You only beat those two teams if every player has the game of their lives, not just Kane and Bellingham, not Anderson and Konsa as well. Needs to be everybody to win a World Cup, I think.
6:10 on Tuesday morning, Gabby Agbon-Lahore is confident that you'll get to a final and you will beat Argentina.
We're England,
tomorrow
aren't we?
night.
We are England,
live
aren't we?
on talkSPORT.
We created football, Jimon.
Did you?
Yeah.
Forward from talkSPORT, this is how to win the World Cup.
This is the best squad I think England have ever had.
Do you used to love America, now he doesn't. It's very sad.
It was so important to succeed because of all the pressure we received.
Don't jump for this one, I'm going to knock his head off.
Warning, this podcast does not guarantee England will actually win anything.
Now, stay tuned after us at 4 o'clock because World Cup Drive with Goldstein and Bent comes to you live from New York. They're going to be joined by Kyle Walker and Rio Ferdinand before live commentary this evening on talkSPORT of England versus Argentina. It's been all very different this World Cup in the US. Of course, it's been in Canada and it's been in Mexico. But as far as the US are concerned, one of the key moments in it was that moment that Folarin Balogun of the USA, suspended because of a red card, shouldn't have played against Belgium, but did play against Belgium, and we know why. Infantino, at the top of the house at FIFA, admitted that President Trump called him about the Balogun red card, but insisted that an independent judicial body was overseeing the case. It's now come to light the decision to suspend Balogun's red card was taken solely by the chairman of FIFA's disciplinary committee, Mohammed Al-Kamali of the UAE, without any of the 17 other members being asked to be involved in the case. FIFA hasn't responded for comment in this, Simon. They've also declined to publish the written reasons for the Balogun decision. As for the decision itself, well, it seemingly put a whole bunch of pressure on Balogun and the rest of the US players because all of a sudden there was immense spotlight put on the US team as they went into this game against Belgium. Balogun spoke about this on CBS.
My initial reaction was, I was happy to be back in the team.
Yes.
But when I kind of started to reflect, I knew it was going to cause a lot of controversy. And I could almost see within my teammates a bit of nerves because it's something that's so unique. But the closer we got to the game, I tried to just focus as best as I could.
Yeah.
But it was difficult, a lot of outside noise, and that's hard to avoid.
I remember at the time we thought, do you know what? I wonder if this will bring added pressure that Pochettino and the USA don't want. And it put Balogun, who was just another World Cup player, really under the spotlight.
So, play. I mean, pressure is something you create upon yourselves. He doesn't alter the parameters of being a top footballer or not being a top footballer. And if the US are going to try and dial this in as the reason why they got their backsides spanked in that game, then they're wrong. It might have enhanced the motivation of the Belgians, who wouldn't have been under-aroused anyway.
But we all thought it was an independent judicial body who was overseeing the case. It turns out it was one guy, Mohammed Al-Kamali of the United Arab Emirates.
It's much easier to influence one person, isn't it? In the same way that it's very easy for Trump to make a phone call to an individual, and then for Infantino to allow a commission consisting of one person. So it's much easier to influence one person than 17, isn't it? So it makes it even worse than we already think it's pretty preposterous. We already think it flies in the face of everything that should be upholding the values of the game, which is FIFA's job. And it shows another example of how they operate.
I mean, this was a one-off moment because according to published findings of more than 100 previous cases...
Never been done before.
Yeah. Kamali has never previously been the sole arbiter.
And they're not going to account for it.
No.
and they're not going to account for it. And this is the guardians of the game. And make of that what you will.
Yeah.
Scratch your heads and worry about what that looks like and what that means, because we know what it is. There was a preposterous suggestion by Rudy Giuliani's son that there was no influence behind that call. And now we see that the call invoked a FIFA response, which is we didn't do it.
Yeah.
An independent commission did it.
Yeah.
Right. So this independent commission, which you put into place, that had no process to be in place because the red card doesn't have a commission. The rescinding of red cards isn't available, so there isn't a commission established for it. So you set a precedent for it, and now you've set another precedent, which is you allowed a commission to be commissioned, and then you allowed a commission to not be representative of the 17 members of it.
Yeah.
So you keep putting forward these wonderful precedents which exhibit a level of concern about the accountability, the responsibility, and the authenticity of FIFA's governance over the game.
I mean, honestly, it beggared belief at the time. And I remember we were speaking to Giuliani. We're one of the few outlets that took on the White House administration. And the task force, he represents the task force. And they stuck to their party line. But as regards Infantino, we know he's seeking a third term. Yeah. Where he's hoping his re-election next year will be unopposed.
Yeah.
We understand calls are growing from UEFA Federation to back a candidate who run against him, Simon. If that happens, do new brooms sweep clean, or do they sweep the same in the end?
Well, this is
does it matter
this
who
is the
comes
conversation we had with the gentleman that works on the pressure group that looks into the Fair Square, Nick McGeegan, right?
Yeah.
And about the system needing to be changed.
Right.
It's not just the principle at the top of it. The whole structure of FIFA and the opaqueness of the organisation needs to be reviewed and evaluated, because it shouldn't be an organisation that is as opaque as that. And the American administration sat there doing what they did in this circumstance, which is creating straw man arguments and shouting louder in a conversation where they just represent something in a way that's completely and utterly the polar opposite of what it was. They used a referee and a referee with a dubious background, completely untrue, complete straw man argument to redirect away from a circumstance that has, ramifications. The fact that FIFA allowed this to go on and won't explain it, and then hide behind ridiculous scenarios like we created independent commissions, and somehow or another, through freedom of information or some good journalism, they've uncovered the fact that there's only one member of the independent commission that adjudicated, and this hasn't manifested itself in 100 other occasions.
Yeah.
And maybe they'll find some particular story behind the reasons why there was only one person needed. That'll be the next concoction.
Yeah.
But it's wrong, and people should be accountable for it. And guess what? They aren't going to be.
No. And trying to get inside Giuliani's head was almost well nigh impossible.
Oh,
he
just
finished every answer with Nick. All right,
shout louder.
Next question.
Create straw man arguments and shout loud.
Yeah. Are we going to be sitting here this time tomorrow with England in a World Cup final?
When have I ever tipped anything right?
No, well, that's true. Are you scared to tip them?
No, I don't think it makes any difference. I have got a few tips right, and I dine out on them because they're so few and far between.
Well, so the obvious thing to do is tip Argentina, isn't it?
No, I'm not going to do that because that's silly. I think England are going to win. I don't know how they're going to win, and I don't know what the score's going to be, but I think that England are going to win this game. I think that they are. I think that Argentina might have elements of irresistible force about them,
right.
But I think England are going to be an immovable object one way or another, and I don't think it's going to be some no-scoring game. I think both sides are going to score. Yeah.
World Cup Game Day Drive is next. Goldstein and Bent live from the US. We'll be back tomorrow at 1.
Look, we've seen some amazing players play for England in my lifetime, but I feel that what Bellingham is doing, even if you compare it to Kane, and Kane is an icon. Kane is one of England's greats as well. But Bellingham feels different.
Do you think?
Yeah.
Do you think he's the greatest player to ever play for England?
Can we frame this question in a slightly different way?
Go on.
Can we just discount the 66 winners? Like,
Okay.
I can't.
You can't
they
go.
won
You
it,
can't go
right?
against Bobby Moore.
Yeah. They've won it. They've won it.
Okay,
Like,
but is he the best player you've seen in an England shirt ever?
he's not. He's probably not the best player, but he might be the best England player, the best player for England. Like, look, you could argue that Steven Gerrard was a better player than him. You could argue that Paul Scholes was. You could argue that lots of players were, but none of them did it for England in the way that Bellingham has already. Already, 22 years old. Already, think about what happened in Qatar. Think about what happened in Germany, and this World Cup, he's taken it to a completely different level.
Yeah,
like I think it's amazing. I don't
Rooney?
Rooney never did it for England quite like Rooney. I was there.